Bam, bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 ba-na-na. And we are live! Hi, everybody! Let me get the chat all goody-goody. Oh, Des beat Jellybean today! Lolly ho! Lolly did the vault last night on an ult, and I'm not ready for the double whammy of emotional damage. Ho! Me too, Des. I have not done it. Well, I didn't do it too, but I have not done it since the change. Lolly ho, Jellybean. Afternoon, Aaron. I have my I have emotional support pup. Come here. I got emotional support pup with me for today. Decoy, good to see you. Glad to have you. Mistra, good to see you, glad to have you. Long time no see. I tend to see you over on Ginger Prime, and I always I don't know why, but your name and your icon always catch my eye. Kathra, good to see you, glad to have you. I got the doggo. Look at the good pup. Deathberry, good to see you, glad to have you. Hi. Oh, thank you for the kisses. You wanna get down? You good? Yeah. Unless there's someone else who uses the exact same icon. How's everybody doing? There you go. Chris, good to see you, glad to have you. I think also the other thing is, like, Mr. Early on, I think you like commented on some of our very early videos, and just every so often something just sticks in your mind. You never know. Doing good. Just about to mess with some resin, like some casting resin for like props. Because that's what my mind thinks of when I think of resins. Let's do our preliminary Dragoon quest, and then we'll get straight into story. I will say, we may not go far beyond the vault today, so if that means an earlier ending, or maybe capping off with some Dark Knight quest or something, we may play it that way. Because I emotionally don't think, you know. Epoxy and UV resin. Yeah, okay. What for? Good to know I'm not invisible. Yeah, no. I think most people who comment or watch content don't realize how much creators see. We're paying attention, and I think even if we don't respond to everything, and partly because we can't respond to everything, and partly because just, you know, for various reasons. But yeah, if you're commenting, assume the creator's actually reading it, even if you don't think the creator's reading it. I don't care how big they are. I mean, like, at certain sizes, yeah, but I can tell you, I know some content creators who are pretty relatively, you might consider large, like 100,000 up, who read most of their comments. Yeah. It seems your training precedes apace, Elio. Would that I could say the same in the search for Hydaelyn. With heretic activity on the rise of late, our forces are stretched thin. The Temple Knights have not the men to spare for their search efforts, but that as it may be, we are not without leads. That's a weird way of phrasing it. A short while ago, a peculiar report arrived from the front lines. In a recent skirmish between our knights and a band of heretics, one of the enemy was wielding a lance bearing a striking resemblance to Peregrine. The lance is a treasure belonging to Hydaelyn's family. If the reports are true, these heretics now have it. However, the villains came to possess Peregrine. It is more than likely that they knew something of Hydaelyn's fate. If we can find them, we may yet find her. West of Camp Riversmeet in the Western Highlands, a regiment of knights hunts the self-same band of heretics we seek. I would have you join them, Elio. It is our best hope for a clue. They name it Peregrine, and all I can think of is Hydaelyn just wielding a hobbit. Just, like, straight. I think Zeppelin might be the only one that can't really read most of the comments for 14. Yeah. And even I know, like, she'll read a lot of chat, and I know for a fact she doesn't often. And also some of it's also like I sometimes will for weeks at a time not read any comments just for mental health. Because sometimes they're really lovely, sometimes they're like have really good points, sometimes they're have really good points, but they're framed in such a way that it like hits wrong, and you're just like, I just, you know, last thing I need to have is something stuck in my brain that's just not useful. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm experimenting on a light up moon for my boyfriend because I want to practice some techniques for future projects. Night Deathberry. I used to do a lot of epoxy and resin casting for hand props and for helmets. So sometimes we're talking to each other. Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say, whenever you guys are talking either in chat or to each other, that is always fills me with joy. You know, it's just something about facilitating community is something that gives me the good chemicals. So, like, for instance, I think someone asked a while, like, maybe a week ago or so in the chat, like, is it okay if we talk to each other in the chat? Like, that, it's so wild to me. It's like, of course it's okay if you guys talk to each other in the chat. It's not like, yeah. I get that. I prefer people to be nice for sure. No, and, you know, the thing is, it's, people are being critical, you know, like, here's a good point, someone had a really good point, they brought up in a really interesting point about their reasons as to why, in my lyrical lore on Close in the Distance, why they disagreed with one of my interpretation things, and I didn't agree with their assessment, but it was like well put, but A, it was very long, and B, like, I have a problem where my mind will like fixate and not relinquish things even if I'm done with them. And so just reading that, then that's stuck in my brain, even though I'm like, yeah, I have nothing that needs left to be thought about it, but I can't but it's still stuck in there. And I have other shit I gotta do. Sir Albrecht sent word that you would come. The heretics retreated through yonder pass, the man with the lance peregrine among them. Our forces are giving chase even as we speak. Needless to say, we should be grateful for the Azure Dragoons' aid. Tethys, sometimes the comments are lovely and nice, and then sometimes the comments are from me. It's true. But I'll say, Tethys, even when we have, like, and I realize you're joking, but just, I don't ever feel bad when me and you have different takes, right? Because not only do, like, I respect you and you respect me, it's like, you don't think when I have a take, like, one, you'll concede if, like, you still feel strongly about like, you still love something, but you're also like, but it is dumb. You know, Evilise. You know, like, you either are like, I have an opinion, and I don't need to convince you, and I don't need to be convinced, and I'm like, I have an opinion, and I don't need to convince you, but I do want to understand you, and so it's like, you know, it all works out totally fine. You know, the problem is like, I think internet discourse and YouTube discourse promotes people wanting to try and prove their point a lot, and it makes it hard to, like, discuss, or not even just discuss, but like a partnership of mutual understanding, right? Man, they're fucking using corpses as breadcrumbs. Sometimes the comments are just too horny to respond to. You know, horny comments don't bug me. Well, okay, horny comments bug me if, like, the video is about something incredibly sincere. Like, if it's about the complications of Y'shtola's life or something, and then, like, someone's just talking about Dami Mami Y'shtola, or if I'm, like, if someone was being, like, horny in the comments for, like, Wayward Daughters lyrical lore, you know, then it's like, okay. But, you know, horny comments aren't the worst. Sarah, good to see you, glad to have you. Happy Labor Day, guys. Demins, good to see you, glad to have you. And 9-pound Parent Bells. The proletariat. Of course, the view would be Demins. What is that? What is with the intersection of communism and furries? Listen, there are a few of us who are more than guilty. I find myself thinking of you often of late, Elio. Bouncing wow wow. When I leapt upon Gruely and pierced his hide, the creature responded by soaring and attempting to shake me off. 'Twas all I could do to hold on to the shaft of my lance. I understand your struggles. It's often all I can do to hold on to the shaft of my own lance. High as we climbed, I could not safely dismount. Look, you guys now got horny as a subject. And so I bided my time, waiting for the right moment to jump clear of my unwilling mount. Alas, the beast had the other ideas. It bore me straight into the heretic's midst, and I swiftly overwhelmed and divested me of my weapon. Well, how are you okay? What? It was the sighting of Peregrine that led you here. To see my forefathers watch over me. Hear me, Elio. The man who took my lance is the leader of a band of heretics. I overheard the guard say that he was departed to meet with the leaders of yet another group. In all likelihood, they are plotting a large-scale assault on the Holy See.
You know, you'd think with Ysayle on our side at this point, it would have made more sense to, like, talk about, like, how the heretics have, like, maybe, like, branched off from her or something. Else, like... I mean, I guess this makes sense if you assume at this point in time Ysayle's left our group. I guess that works.
The Temple Knights must be warned. You must bear word to the congregation that we might bolster our defenses.
And Ares 55 and this quest is 56, so that makes sense.
No, I cannot return with you. There's a task I must needs attend to. Should someone ask whence the information came, tell them that you wrung it out of a heretic, and tell them that I fell in battle. No fool will I ask much of you, and it pains me to deceive my father, but I have no choice. Whatever you might think of my request, believe me when I say that I remain firm in my purpose. 'Tis nothing. I but took a glancing blow to the chest. I must go now, as must you. When you turn to the congregation, deliver my message to Sir Hydaelyn. Please take care of my comrades and my father.
Well, I do think some YouTube comments should be a response video instead. I know that's not for everyone, but it's easier to consume than a comment the size of a web novel. Yeah, I think the thing is it takes effort to do a response video, and you also have to have a mic, you know, I think the thing is a comment doesn't make you vulnerable, right? And a response video does make you vulnerable. And I think that's the struggle. Hey, Mr. Archive, it's been a while. Crotorize, good to see you, glad to have you. Back in time for tears. Yeah, perfect timing. I love the Eorzean Memorial beer, by the way. Yeah, I've been stoking this. I hired a friend to finish up my Eorzean soft goods. We got the money for a cosplay stream a while ago, and I haven't gotten the soft goods to arrive yet. So hopefully we'll get that, even if it's a month late. I also just ordered, or I'm in the process of ordering my new camera that, thanks to you guys, we were able to raise the money for. Speaking of which, the goal right now is to get a PS5, which I know sounds like a splurge myself, but the main reason is me and Aniria are currently doing FF1 replay, and we're going to be going through all the Final Fantasy games, and if we want to do 16, we're going to need a PS5. It's my birthday on the 9th, so I'm hoping to, like, try to gather money towards putting it towards that. I found especially lately that the main problem is that people think the opinions can't be wrong. One can have an opinion on a subject and still be factually wrong. Yeah, and I think the thing is, like, people got to be okay with changing their own opinion, and also not seeing it as weakness or a flaw to change your opinion over time. You know, like, I think it's hard. I mean, I think the problem is we're in a state where you make yourself incredibly vulnerable just by being willing to change your opinion, and that's sad.
Eorzean, slain. I cannot believe it. To lose one of our best while Garuli's shadow looms over us. But we must deal with each threat as it comes. First, we prepare for the heretics. I thank you for alerting us to their plan. Now, loath though I am to place this burden upon you, Montoganes must needs be informed of his daughter's passing. He has gone to see Sir Alberic at the observatorium. Pray, bear the news to him.
My wordlight looks like an isekai character, cat girl, blonde hair with a street outfit and katana weapon. I'm basically the masked woman in slime, just Mikote. Yeah, I get it, yep. You should do a whole stream and flower your Eorzean speak. I definitely could do that. Honestly, Eorzean speak is not... A lot of how I think in my head is not that far off from Eorzean speak. A little bit more doth than thee, but the general vocab he uses is very much, like, in line with how I think. Like, I never found it hard to read Eorzean, like most people did. And so that actually sounds like fun. We could definitely plan something for that. We'd be doing Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yes, the 3 spin-offs we'll be doing are 13-2, 10-2, and 7 Remake. And if we have a PS5, or PS6, PS5, oh my god, yeah. PS6. PS5, we'll be doing Rebirth, probably. It'll depend. Hi, Low Ray, good to see, glad to have you. I change my opinions all the time, or do I? I mean, Ray, me and you are both stubborn individuals, and yet we get along and, like, can talk about things. And, like, for instance, I mean, literally just today, you know, difference on the motorbike thing, you know? It can be an issue that a lot of unknowns in this game are interpretive or inference and trying to let things roll off. Yeah, and the other thing, it is a good way of putting it, Decoy. The other thing I would put off, too, is, yeah, you can make best guesses, and I think you can quibble over, like, some of the evidence. But often also what we think, like, if you tried to make best guesses about the Ancients and the Ascians before Shadowbringers came out, you're gonna potentially be off. So there's a good chance that there's a lot of things right now that seem pretty clearly one way, that I've even declared, like, I think it is this, that we may find out with it, not because of retcons, but just because of, like, oh, we misunderstood how to like, we were interpreting this as very explicit, but it actually shouldn't have been. That may still totally happen in 7.0. That may happen with the 13th. Information around the 13th in 6.x. Yeah.
Ah, Mr. Elio, have you learned aught of my daughter's whereabouts?
Yeah, she got.
What? Slain? No, it cannot be. I am sorry, my friend. Eorzean is one of Ishgard's finest dragoons.
She would not fall to a common heretic. It's me some kind of mistake.
Yes, a terrible mistake.
I mean, we're telling him the truth, right? I'll let you guys pick. I would say that opinions are objectively contradictory to fact isn't opinion. That objectively contradictory to a fact isn't opinion, but misinformation and or ignorance. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that there's also a difference between ignorance and willful ignorance, and I think we treat some people as being willfully ignorant when they're just unaware. I think we should treat people as, like, willing to listen. And I think the thing is that, what's the term? Rational minds can disagree in terms of, like, can vary in their take on a thing. So, like, that can happen too. I do think often the biggest issue is an argument over whether something is opinion or fact in 14, more so than, like, ultimately what the facts are. It's opinions on something if there doesn't exist a hard fact. Yeah, I think that I think there's a difference between opinion and informed opinion as well. Perfect, that could be like a stretch goal, full stream and cosplay and speak. Yeah, Quarterize, I'd definitely be down. Once my soft goods are good, I'm happy to do, like, more of them. That's a great idea. Willow, good to see you, glad to have you. Truth, yep, we're telling the truth.
What? Eorzean chose not to return. I know not what compelled her to act as she did, but it is enough for me that she still lives. Thank you for giving me this hope at least. To those who do not know her, it may well appear as though Eorzean is deserted, but I believe I speak for all of us when I say that she would not forsake her vows, let alone her people. Indeed you do, Sir Albrecht. However inexplicably my daughter's action may seem, I will not cease to believe in her. No matter what it takes, I will find her and bring her home.
Montergains is a good dad, and I appreciate that.
Montergains puts on a brave front, but I fear the weight of my worry may prove too much for him to bear. Yet another reason to find Eorzean with all haste. Now it seems plain she means to go after Garuli and recover Peregrine, and while these objectives alone do not explain her decision to leave, they reveal to us where she is like to be. I shall track down the leader of the heretics, the man who has Peregrine. You meanwhile must continue dedicating yourself to your lance work. The trials of recent days have made you stronger, but I sense that the greatest tests are yet to come. See to it that you are full ready to face them.
For example, Y'shtola is so fine as an opinion because looks are in the eyes of the beholder. Yeah. I mean, like, I think we can widely accept that a lot of the community is hot for Y'shtola. Like, Y'shtola, I don't have a thing for Y'shtola. I don't have a thing for any kind of Dami-Mami thing. And I like fuller features in terms of, like, my personal druthers, thus femro love. So, yeah. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, you literally can't talk about attraction as an objective thing. I mean, there are certain things you can talk as broadly objective, but even then, like, there's going to be people who, like, differ, bilateral symmetry is typically, in the vast majority, vast majority of the time, going to be an appealing thing. Yes, there's always going to be outliers, but... the chat box for the video seems to be frozen, showing the final minutes from Saturday's stream. Cool. I will refresh it then. Thank you for letting me know. That should do it. When my uncle was alive, he had a deeply held opinion that the Weekly World News was completely true because they couldn't publish it if it was lies. That is a level of naivety that I can almost respect, to be fair. Oh, I should probably do, like, off-stream, get the flight stuff. Is today Vault Day? Today is Vault Day, Professor. Good to see you, glad to have you. Truth! Truth on which part? I'm assuming Y'shtola? Oh, no, truth. You're talking about truth for telling the truth. Yeah. Yeah, not knowing isn't an insult, or at least not meant as. Yeah. Oh, Dragoon quests are quite good. Dragoon Quest is middle of the road for me. I think it's good story. I don't think there's typically a lot of good lore. Like, I feel like there's multiple ways to rank. I would love to, like, sit down and have a ranking competition about, forgive me, my, headphones are dying. Like, I don't think there's any job quest that's actively bad. I think the worst one is probably Paladin, if I had to think about it. Because, you know, it stops being fucking Paladin job quests at a certain point. And, like, for the last two, it was Gladiator. Gladiator Part 2. Elio doesn't like Dummy Mommy's but Femro life? See, but to me, Femro don't have to be dom. Like, I don't look at Merlweb and go, I want you to dom me. I go to Merlweb and I think I find you attractive. You know, I don't want Femros to, like, the thing is that, like, I would, like, a Femro with full features, I don't, like, a girl being taller to me doesn't make them, A, a dom, or B, a dom energy necessarily, or B, mommy energy necessarily. Dragoon is now wall tank. Job quest tier list. Yeah, job quest tier list would be fun. I mean, we could do one, maybe because the vault's gonna come up real quick, we'll have extra time, maybe we could do one after stream. I may be, you know, actually, I'm gonna be working on videos and stuff today. I may hop over to Twitch and just stream me working, so we could also take time to do that. Tell Hustian's father the truth, which you did. Yeah. Oh, lore-wise, yeah, I agree, but I like how it ties into Ysenia. Yeah, to be fair, Mistra, in terms of, like, filling out that stuff, I'm with you. My problem with the, like, ARR one, though, is, like, Estinian in that is almost a complete, not a completely different character, but it's so barely works with him going, like, how that ends compared to, like, where you meet him at in Heavensward, that it's, like, I've always found it, like, it works. It's not like oh, this doesn't work at all, but it is, like, he's like, oh yeah, that happened. Moving on. With Nidhogg fallen, none save Hraesvelgr remain to answer our questions. Let us trouble the worm again. And if Iceheart yet lingers at Zenith, all the better. I would have her hear the truth from the dragon's maw. Dark, yeah, Dark is my favorite. I think Dark has also the best, I think Dark has the best, capstone. The Shadowbringers quest, because I think it pulls together everything from the prior quest. I think Red Mages does really well. Scholars is really good. Let me think about it. What are my favorites? I think Paladin's one of the weakest one, which is sad because Paladin's one of my favorite jobs. Dark Knight's one of the strongest ones. Warrior's, like, solid mid to low tier, because, like, it's funny, it's heartwarming, you know, like, it's not, again, it's not bad. Grumbreaker is mixed as a story, in my opinion, in terms of its strength, but it's got good Baja stuff. Sam is a good story most of the time. That's like mid-high. Reaper is pretty high because of its lore and because it's a good story. Sage is probably below Reaper, but it's at least got some interesting lore stuff. Machinist is pretty good, especially if you're left-leaning and labor-leaning. Nope. Okay. I mean, go around the other way. I think Machinist is pretty good. Dancer's pretty good. Black Mage is fine. White Mage is fine to good. And these are just these are how I feel about them. This is not saying that these are like some sort of objective take. Ast has some good lore stuff. I don't know that story is like amazing. Like, it's got good Sharlayan lore, it's got good Ast lore, it's got good Ishgard lore, it's got good, you know, Geomancer and Doma lore. Like, the lore stuff around Ast is really good. Who are we missing? Summoner. Summoner's pretty good, got good lore stuff, and the story's pretty good. Bard's got good lore stuff. Its story doesn't do a ton for me, but it's pretty good. Ninja's pretty good. I have a question. Emmett says he lived 1,000-year lifetimes. Exactly how long do the ancients live? As far as we know, the ancients are immortal. There's some lines that might kind of imply they can die of old age, but like 90% of the evidence points the other direction and that they are effectively immortal. The other thing is the amount of time he would have lived during it's been roughly 10,000 years since from the Sundering to today. So, you know, 1,000 lifetimes is a bit, you know, bit much. I mean, let me put it this way. Emmett Selk is hyperbolic man. So don't necessarily take every line he says perfectly literally. But, you know, it's been about 10,000 years. He also slept through a lot of parts of that, though. Because remember, every time he's done building an empire or doing one of his main plans, he goes back to sleep to try and save his strength. Unlike La Habrea, who, like, burns the candle at both ends. Scholar for Nim. Yeah, Scholar's great for Nim. I also think it's like it has some lovely, it's a lovely story. The stuff around the Tomberries is really beautiful. So that's why, to me, it works. Machinist, yeah, Machinist is good. I think Machinist is good. It's a broadly good story, and it's got, it's not even like it doesn't necessarily tells you a bunch about lore. Oh, I just realized I could have teleported this whole time. But, I mean, it does have some, like, broader world lore stuff, and it fuses its narrative and making the world feel broader together really well, in my opinion. I like Rogue Scholar quests. You know, everyone likes Rogue, and I like Rogue. I think Rogue's is almost certainly the best written class quest, but I don't love Rogue the same way that I think other people love Rogue. Like, it's one of the better ARR quests. Like, that, I'll totally agree with that. But I think, like, in juxtaposition to some of the stuff that comes later, I think a lot of people love Jack, and that's part of it. I have a question. Yeah, okay, we have some of that. So if you're me, the Machinist quest slaps. Demins, I was thinking of you as I said it. I'm leaning more classic literal lately. I enjoyed the 50-60 monk quest recently. Yeah, monk quests I think are good story and good lore. Machinist is the ultimate proletarian job. It really is. Guess I don't remember those elements of Mach too well. Yeah, the thing I'll say, too, about Black Mage is that Black Mage just doesn't go into enough lore to be interesting, and its story isn't good. Like, don't get me wrong, Shatoto's good. Beyond that, and she's only in it for a brief time, but, like, the Thaumaturge quests are broadly better than the Black Mage quests, in my opinion. I think Red Mage is some of the best quests, too. I think Red Mage might be my second. Because it's a full line through of an entire story that has great lore on multiple levels, great history, and great story. I think Red Mage might be my second place.
'Twas you, was it not? The furious screams of the dragons carried far. You slain Nidhogg, what more could you desire from this place? Will you now allow Hraesvelgr to mourn the death of his kin in peace? Spare us your sanctimonious judgment, Ice Maiden. We have a gift for the Great Worm and a mystery that can no longer lie buried. Lady Iceheart, the Dragonsong War has all but consumed your life and claimed many of your followers. 'Tis time you learned the truth of its beginning. The whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That way we may at last bring this bitter conflict to an end. Sound the horn, warrior of light.
Oh man, you guys going ham in the chat. This is lovely. Thank you guys for providing me things to bounce off of. It makes it a lot more fun and energizing. That fucking horn. How long did they live? Yeah, I think it's vaguely around 10,000 years. So the thing is that Sundering to modern times is about 10,000 years. We don't know how long before that it was, and every indication we seem to have, for the most part, is that ancients either must be killed or must willingly give themselves over to return to the star. They're like elves, like classical, like Tolkien elves. Goes back over 8,000 years, at least if I recall, predates the first Astral Era, yeah.
Impetulant mortals, ever seeking to bury old wrongs under new. I did sense the moment of Nidhogg's demise.
You mean the moment I prized your eye from his head?
Oh shit. Oh my god, Mistra, not you two.
Twould seem thou hast uncovered my secret. I, unto the blinded Nidhogg did I yield one half of my strength.
We've had the Void Mage talk multiple times. We can have it again. You're not gonna like what I have to say. Full power! Falcor. He really is, though. Although, I guess he's not a Serpentine. Cathro, that's what charisma can do. You can hate a motherfucker and still be, like, enraptured by them. I hope one day we get to actually see what Ratatoskr looked like. Maybe in a Tiamat vision, if we go to Mericidiers. Nidhogg, what hath befallen thee? We are undone by covetous mortals. They take Ratatoskr's eye and glut their appetite upon her essence. She is slain then. Would madness have unmade our peaceful accord? Did I not warn thee, brood brother? They have ever been untrustworthy creatures, these short-lived Eorzean. But thou wert enchanted by thy mortal maid. Thy folly hath cost Ratatoskr her life, and me mine eyes. Oh, my beloved Shiva, how swiftly are thy kin made bestial by their appetites. Hraesvelgr, 'twas the blindness that did invite disaster into our lands. Surrender thee an eye to me, and let that be thy penance. Nidhogg. They bested me once, but I was reckless. I shall need but a single eye to inflict enduring torment upon these traitors, and every child of their line! Yield to me thy strength, brood brother! My vengeance is begun! Yeah, it's like the Fates from the Disney Hercules movies. You just pass the eye around. Simple as that. Demins, was it you who tried to rank the first brood by sexiest? And you came up with Hraesvelgr? Thou hast borne witness to a scene from my past.
It was yours. Your strength that sustained Nidhogg all these years.
Would that Haldreth had dealt the worm a killing blow.
Quinn. When my brood brother did appear before me, bloodied and blinded, his life was all but spent. He demanded half my vigor, and that he might exact his revenge upon the mortals who had wronged us.
And so you acquiesced. You surrendered your eye to Nidhogg, knowing full well the suffering he would inflict.
The peace my beloved so dearly desired had been shattered by her own kin. Their treachery claimed my brood sister's life, and my brood brother's reason. Thinkest thou thy fits of indignation will move me to remorse? I do. Go, mortals. Take your unruly passions and leave this place. Your presence here spelleth naught but misery. I love that he's calling us unruly with unruly passions. Were it not for Shiva's soothing embrace, I would slay you where you stand. Woe betide you should the bond we share ever weaken. Alright, I'm gonna catch up with you guys real quick. After this cutscene. Actually, Mistra, if you want to put a pin in the Void Mage conversation, because there's enough conversation going on, we may not have time to get to it without pausing a lot. Okay. I was gonna say something, but I can't say without spoilers, so I'm not gonna. Appreciate it that you're being careful, Mistra. Jack is just hot. Of course, Tethys would say that. I hope we get Nim after Sildi. I would imagine that Nim would be... Don't get me wrong, I want Nim, but remember that we have the Wanderer's Palace and both normal and hard. Like, we have a lot of Mach, we have a lot of Nim, we have a lot of Amdapor. I would suspect we're going to see probably either something in Ilsabard or Othard first. Because there's a lot more to explore there that hasn't been explored at all. I would also love to see something with Gelmora. I would love to see something with Belladia proper. I mean, though we have Karn, so... you know, I think it's unlikely that we get that first. Bardstar was the only one where you could have been the horny Warrior of Light. No one would have said anything about it. That's fair. Good to see you. Glad to have you, Blinkster, by the way. I didn't expect Red Mage to go into Void mechanics like that. Well, remember, Red Mage is a combination of the legacy of Mach and Amdapor and refugees from those groups coming together and making it. So it makes total sense that it would be Void Scent related. Thank you, Ray Ray. I just want to pet Harry Skulls. He's very fact. Void Mage was a halberd. Void Mage. Everyone's talking about how horny they are for Hracevelger. Quinn, good to see you. Glad to have you. This dragon looks like a dog dragon for Neverending Story. Yeah, that's what we were Falcor. We were saying that earlier. Yeah, and so Chris, the dragons are the eyes are powerful because it's where all the aether concentrates. And the thing is remember that the amount of aether something can contain is based on the its density, and so it's not just about how powerful you are, but also how much aether you can contain within a vessel. And the eyes can contain a fuck ton of aether, which is why they're like, you know, probably quite an ancient soul level of power, but they are like a damn near an ancient soul level of ability to contain aether. Especially like someone like Midgard Summer, because remember, he comes from an unsundered star. The first brood are interesting because they were born on a star that was unsundered. However, they were raised here, so they're a little weird. But there's a reason that all the dragons below the first brood in Midgard Summer are diminished. And it's a byproduct of the fact that the aether upon the source is much thinner because the star is not fully one. Yokota aether all concentrates in their tails. Not gonna lie, Ysayle is pretty hot. I find her aesthetically beautiful. I don't find her attractive though. But again, like, I'm more of a fuller features sort of guy. You need to dunk Estinian in the river. He's too dirty. So he mentioned that he would be... What was the line? We were talking about this at the area. He made it clear that he would have to reforge his armor because literally this blood was never going to be able to come off. So it's literally, even if he wanted to, he could not get it off of this armor. It's like just infused into it. I'm only going to break your brain after considering how many empires, dynasties, cultures were there until this time. That I can name? Or that I can't name? Because, well, it also depends. Are you talking about Eorzea? Are you talking about the world as a whole? Because to answer your question, Catherine, the answer is we don't know, other than the ones that we do know. And the ones that we do know are almost certainly, at best, 10% of all the ones that have existed. Because there's plenty of cultures that would have existed in the first, second, cultures that we know for sure there were multiple civilizations in the third that were either completely destroyed by Allag, like taken over by Allag, even upon the three great continents, as well as other cultures for Mare City in the New World that we just don't know about from those periods of time. Fourth, we have no idea. Fifth, there are many we don't know about. We know about, like, Nim, Amdapor, Scala. We barely know about Scala. Mach, you know, like, we know about some from the fifth, but there's plenty we don't know about the fifth. And ones we do know from the fifth are mostly just in Eorzea. We don't know about Ilsabard particularly. We don't know about Mare City particularly from that time, New World that time. Othard, we kind of get the idea that places like, maybe not literally Doma, but the ancestors like Doma and Hingashi might have existed, because we know that, like, Heaven on High was built in the fourth. We know that things had started, like the Onishishu existed. When Doma comes into being exactly is a little bit wonky, and when, you know, so there might have been multiple things. You know, there's the ancestors of the steppe, you've got places like Thavnair, and so there's the cultures that exist on Thavnair. Also the question, are you talking about Thavnair versus, or are you talking about cultures versus, you know, dynasties or empires? Because it's a very, you know, huge topic, and the answer is that we don't know for the vast majority of it. I love how fuckton is a proper term. It's definitely for me. Tickle, good to see, glad to have you. They were born on this planet. He took his eggs and ran. Yes, but they were right, but the eggs were created on the Dragon Star. That's my point. I'm well aware. So they were birthed in terms of as an egg on the Dragon Star and then brought here. They hatched here, but they were birthed on the Dragon Star. Estinian would not be surprised if his armor was stained red before all this was over. Yeah. We know the most about Garlean Empire, Alagan Empire. If we're talking about exclusively empires, yeah, those are the two that we can say the most about. Depends on also, do you want to call Mach an empire in how it was acting, the way it worked, its expansionism and all of that. It depends on what you want to use as your definition. For well-traveled man, Estinian is very sheltered. He's a walking contradiction. I mean, he's well-traveled within Kurthis, but he's not exactly well-traveled beyond the bounds of, like, Kurthis itself. And then on top of that, I would also say that it's not so much he's sheltered, he just has a sense of duty and obligation to Ishgard, which means that he's aware of, like, for instance, the second he's confronted with this, he immediately is like, yep, I take this to be true. I don't doubt my eyes. So I wouldn't necessarily say he's sheltered. I think and if anything, he's quick to learn when he's given the chance. Compared to other civilizations. No, because we know a lot. When it comes to Alag, we know as much about Mach as we do about Alag. We know as much about, almost as much about Amdapor as we do Alag. Like, there's lots of little things that we know about Alag, but much of Alag just remains a complete mystery in specificity. I mean, I guess if you combine every dungeon and summoner and, Crystal Tower, yeah, I guess there's more details we know about Alag, but Alag's a much broader context to know about, and its bounds were much bigger, so in some ways we know a percentage-wide smaller amount, even if we technically on a numbers level know more. He's very single-minded and focused on vengeance. I don't know, but he's also focused on Ishgard, right? Alag had cell phones. This is how they became OP. So this is really important. The Allagan Tombstone emote cell phone thing is not necessarily canon. That is an emote thing. Tombstones are like USB thumb drives. We have no implication as far as I know that I've seen in the game. And if anyone has a specific example that is not emotes, because multiple emotes are not necessarily canon, like Mega Flare is not canon, Diamond Dust is not canon, like Zentetsuken is not canon. The Tombstones are data thumbsticks, basically. Very solid development. Yeah, no, Stinia has some of the best development in the game. Wouldn't it be better if they saved Xande for later expansions instead of level 50 AR dungeons? Well, so first off, Lore, I would say no, because the usage to which they put him here allows for interesting stories later on. And I think Crystal Tower ends up being in a really good place for where it is. The other thing is that when you make an MMO, you don't know. When they made AR, they didn't know they were getting more expansions. So they decided to do the thing that they cared about in the stories that they thought made sense. So, I mean, like, no, I would say Crystal Tower's I think the only problem with Crystal Tower being where it is that, well, and actually this isn't a problem where it is because they still don't do this. I wish Crystal Tower had voice acting, but I wish all the raids and Alliance raids had voice acting. Did you make a lore video on the floating islands that Alag made? Fascinating place. If you're talking about Aziz Law, we haven't yet. I mean, we can. We could do a geography video. I mean, it depends on what you mean by a lore video on Aziz Law. Like, do you mean the history of Aziz Law? Because there's also large sects of it, But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting places. Estinian was a farm boy a long time ago. Pretty sure he's joking about the phones. Estinian was also probably trying to avoid other people to protect them, especially when he had the eye on him. Yeah, that's explicitly stated. We know that's definitely true. He stole the eye to draw Nidhogg away from Ishgard, according to him. Though he has lifted not a single claw, it would seem that Hraesvelg wreaked his own manner of vengeance against us.
'Twas my life's goal to slay Nidhogg.
Kind of.
But I find there is little joy to be had in its accomplishment.
But you have rid the world of a hate-filled creature, and ended a bloody war in so doing.
Does not bring joy.
I lost my family to Nidhogg's flames, and 'twas with fury in my heart that I took up the lance. Every blow I struck in the name of vengeance. We were not so different, he and I.
See, he immediately learns that lesson.
I have not the right. Too many innocents have perished in the name of my greater good.
Yet even with all that has passed, the tale is incomplete. We are short a great world's eye. Of the pair which Haldreth took from Nidhogg, only one is known to us, the one I bear. What then became of the other? Why did Nidhogg, who had taken such pains to prolong the Dragonsong War, suddenly decide to hurl his entire army against the walls of Ishgard? Lord Commander. Aye. The deed is done. Nidhogg is slain. What? In the city? A battle with whom? At once, Lord Commander. Hold firm till our return.
Well, he is his dragoon, so I'm assuming that Istinian is the down.
Lord Emmerich was sparse with the particulars, but it seems some
Or is he the
commoners
up?
threw open the gates to a force of heretics.
I gave no order to attack.
Are we to mark the end of the Dragonsong War by spilling the blood of our own? Mayhap Hraesvelgr was right about us.
This is what a tombstone is.
Warrior of light. The people must be saved from themselves.
And the reason they're collected is because they may have knowledge of Allag on them.
There has been enough violence. I will appeal to my people in the city and make them see reason.
Right. I totally forgot she comes joins for this.
Come then, Lady Iceheart. Let us write the final chapter in this damnable war.
Don't we wish? Algans do have some annoying OS, just like real life. Statue of Helone in the background. I love how everyone on this team is either like 20 or like 60.
A small army of heretics has invaded the city, Your Eminence. But there is no cause for concern. A sizable contingent of our soldiers is already in place to repel the Dravanian assault. And the intruders will soon find themselves outnumbered and outmatched.
Our plans proceed apace, then?
Yes, Your
From-
Eminence. This unrest
from-
shall serve to feed the people's fear of the heretics and the dragons both.
And lend renewed fervor to their prayers for deliverance. Very good. Grant our guests what time they need to sow a measure of chaos, then order the Temple Knights to crush them.
Your will be done.
Actually, how old is he? I forget. Because it was like, it's been what, like 17 years since he ascended or something? And I forget how old it was when he ascended. John, good to see, glad to have you. And AC, good to see, glad to have you. John, so two things. One of which is, I don't know which scene you're talking about, but I'd also point out that Allag didn't exist. Well, okay, actually, no, there's the Crystal Tower. So maybe there were tombstones within the Crystal Tower. But yeah, if that's, could you tell me what scene it is so we can check it out?
The moment is at hand. Excellent. All shall soon be in alignment. It is time for the bringer of light to die.
Oh, it's Eric. I mean, La Habrea. I think Etsy still sells those tombstone phone cases. I could just 3D print one if I wanted one. I mean, it's very, yeah. Oh no, Santa's the Pope. The horror. You can look at this. Let's see. This is what happens when you don't leave out milk and cookies for Santa Claus. Interesting. Maybe they do have the capacity then. I'd love to like check that out and figure out what's going on there. Because the other thing is, oh, horse fun. What a good boy. I wonder if those are the devices that they used. So we know that there are devices they use to read tombstones as well. I wonder if we're supposed to assume that they are, or does it look like they're using it as like for a phone call? Like, is it a mini computer or is it a phone?
Comrades, sheathe your swords. There is no need for further bloodshed.
Thanks, Tethys.
My lady!
She is come. sisters! The war is ended! Nidhogg is no more!
Dest. Okay, someone give Dest the sloppy emote.
Aye, it is so! This adventurer and the Azure Dragoon laid the great worm low! The endless cycle of violence between man and dragon was born of our forefathers' treachery. You have followed me, bled with me, to bring this truth to light that we might all know peace. But Nidhogg is dead. Nidhogg is dead, my friends. He who bore such hatred towards Ishgard is dead. Let his hatred die with him, I say. Let us sheathe our swords and go in peace.
Have we lost?
No, my friend. Far from it. At long last, the peace for which we have so desperately fought is within our grasp. And I, for one, would not forsake it.
Either is technically right, and less of what lines to record.
Peace?
Because like a lot of voice actors are paid by the line.
Seize the witch! Let none escape!
Not surprising.
Providing aid and succor to the wounded should be our first concern. If the heretics mean to observe the peace, then it would be folly not to do the same.
Good man. Yeah, it's interesting. This and even also like her line delivery later on in Azys Law is a bit monotone, weirdly. I always thought so.
This was rather too close for comfort, but 'twould seem that the calm is returning to the streets. My mind, however, yet clamors with 1,000 questions. You return to Ishgard in the oddest of company, my friend. That, my friend, was rather too close for comfort. Praise Helone that things do not end in bloodshed, I confess. I was more than a little dismayed to see that you in the company of Lady Ashot. Whatever is going on, Helio? Dude, you would not know the shit I've seen. Beg pardon, you traveled to the Churning Mist together, along with Istinian? Never was there a more unlikely alliance. No one so magnificently effective. Nidhogg, dead. The heretics, pacified. Father and Sir Aymeric must know of this. Let us break the news to them together. I will bring Sir Aymeric to the Four Toms Manor. Yes, an excellent suggestion. Very well, Elio. I shall await you there.
I feel like they told her VA she was on a podium well above her followers and she needed to project here. Yeah, it's I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it was a director for the line delivery or if it's the actress on that one, but it is interesting that every time she has to deliver lines like that, it is of the same sort of cadence. Horsefon has swagger. He is a Chad. He is the best of us, that's for sure. Willow. I just looked down. By the way, we have an FC. If you'd like to join our FC, it's on Crystal Curl, and we have a great time in there. I look down and I just see everyone talking. I just see Willow go, oh god, I'm getting hit on by a cat girl. See, that's what happens when you make yourself a bun boy, Willow. You start getting hit on by Mikote. Jubilant D. You know, I'm in the manga, she and the Ishgardians, you know, are part of the Pretty People group. Yeah. Yeah, the Otherworld manga thing. I mean, it makes sense. Especially if you tend to think about those people tend to be typed as there seems you take a lot of classism typing with around that, and you think about like what's up with Ishgard and also the wealth and yada yada yada. I mean, not specifically for Ysayle, that doesn't make sense, but if you lump her in with that group. I know, but he's hot.
Praise Hydaelyn, you are safe.
Yet further proof, it is a Halone. It is not Halone, it is Halone. However you say Halone, it's fine. It's fine.
For I had the Azure Dragoon and the Warrior of Light by my side. We bring the most wonderful tidings.
You can just call me and Estinian are the
Here in Ishgard. This is most
Me and-
unexpected.
me and Estinian are the dragoon versions of Alfino and Alice. One of us is blue, one of us is red, and we're both Eorzean.
She has done much to quell the violence. The Inquisition may not approve, but we are glad of her presence.
And with the Great Worm's demise, even our nation's more reactionary elements will have scant grounds to press for her immediate impeachment.
My thoughts exactly.
What of the truth revealed to us by Hraesvelga? That the origins of the Dragonsong War, a core tenet of Ishgardian faith, are quite unlike those depicted in the scriptures.
That men and dragons once lived together in harmony, and that it was man's treachery which shattered the peace and plunged our peoples into war.
The same scripture also describes the origins of the High Houses. Were it exposed as false, the legitimacy of our rule would be called into question. If both Highborn and Lowborn can trace their ancestry to Thordan and his Knights 12.
But a single sip of dragon's blood is required to confirm their lineage.
If the Holy See knew of this and chose to remain silent, their crimes are grievous indeed. Regardless, this state of affairs cannot be allowed to continue.
Sir Emmerich, you cannot mean to raise this matter with the Archbishop. Pray consider what you are proposing. If the Holy See chose to conceal the truth for centuries, what reason would they have to reveal it now?
At best, you will be branded a heretic and clapped in irons.
Then at least the Archbishop will have shown his true colors. My friends, this war will never truly be at an end until the truth is made known.
Animations haven't
You
changed for
must
these
see
scenes.
what lies on the horizon if it is not. When ruled by fear of a common enemy, we were united.
The only way that's possible is if these scenes are all in engine and the emotes have been changed for like the emotes for converse. So that could be possible. I don't think so. I know weapon like draw and sheath animations have changed, but I don't think converse or most of the emotes have been adjusted.
But now we have none. During the war, the Highborn needed men to lead and the Lowborn men to follow. Not anymore. 'Tis but a matter of time before the old order is called into question. Lady Iceheart will share the truth with her followers, and the Holy See will be powerless to stop its spread. The disenfranchised will rise up united, and blood will flow in the streets once more. A divided Ishgard will not survive.
Tread carefully, Lord Commander.
My
We
lady,
may yet
is
one
it
day.
wise to let him go? I sympathize with the Lord Commander's desire for reform, but to approach the Archbishop in this manner bespeaks an idealism to which I did not think Sir Emmerich prone.
Though he comports himself as a realist, he has long dreamt of reform. 'Twas that idealism which first drew me to him, that which made me swear an oath to serve. We must not think of ways to hinder his cause, but rather ways to aid it, even should the Holy See cry heresy.
You cannot mean...
If the Lord Commander does not return from the vault at the appointed hour, I mean to go and fetch him.
Have care, my lady. Your words border on treason. Should they reach the wrong ears, you will be declared an enemy of Ishgard.
Good question.
That is a risk I am willing to take. Lest you forget, my lord, I am not born of this land. My loyalty is to the Lord Commander alone. But I speak only of what may come to pass. If the rumors regarding his heritage are to be believed, we have naught to fear.
That seems unlikely as they'd have to re-record, but maybe.
Lies and slander.
Forgive me, what rumors are these?
That Sir Emmerich is the Archbishop's bastard son. Senior clergy are not permitted to marry and sire children. But even the holiest among us are not immune to temptation.
I labour to believe it. Sir Emmerich is truly the Archbishop's son.
He has never been publicly acknowledged as such. But the rumors have plagued him since childhood. That he rose to his current position, despite being despised as a bastard and accused of profiting from his father's influence, bespeaks the quality of his character. It is my hope that on this occasion, the burden of his birth will work in his favor. Should our worst fears be realized, the Archbishop will not be so quick to execute his own flesh and blood, affording us time to mount a rescue.
Bastard or trueborn, he is our nation's best hope. If the Holy See dares to threaten him, I shall lead the charge against the vault myself.
Hear, hear! The future of Ishgard rests on Sir Emmerich's shoulders. I too will do mine utmost to aid his cause.
Fuck yeah.
Orshafon, be reasonable.
A knight lives to serve, Father. To aid those in need. The people need Sir Emmerich more than ever, and we may be his only hope. There is no greater calling for a knight than to save the life of his fellow man. I swear to you, on the sigil of our house, that I shall do this and make you proud.
For those we've lost and those we can yet save.
Even you? Romantic, reckless fools, the lot of you. So be it. Make your preparations.
I thank you all for your support.
Yes, Stacey. And Professor, just because we're trying to avoid, I think everyone in this chat knows, but just in case, I'm just gonna remove that for now. Just a little too specific. Though your assistance is most welcome, I fear it will not be enough. Few as we are, we will need struggle to reach the Lord Commander. If we are to succeed, we must needs recruit others to our cause. But how are we to carry out this bold endeavor? Even when the army of knights at our backs, a direct assault on the vault seems unlikely to succeed. You are correct, Master Alphino. Not even the assembled might of House Fortoms and the Temple Knights, would be sufficient. With the support of another party, however, we may yet stand a chance. Ah, you speak of one of the other high houses. Precisely the opposite. I speak of the revolutionaries rumored to reside in the Broom. 'Twas these disgruntled Ishgardians who'd opened the gate to our city to the heretics, I believe. But of course, if their hatred of the Holy See drove them to such deeds, they might as well be persuaded to assist in Sir Emerich's rescue, knowing the truth he would lay bare. Such is my hope, Master Alphino, and I would have you and Elio reach out to them. As a Temple Knight and sworn servant of the Holy See, any overtures I make are doomed to fail. But as an outsider, the two of you may receive a warmer welcome. Very well, we shall seek out the leaders of these revolutionaries and make our case. My thanks. Estinian, will your brothers heed your command if you order them to stand aside?
The dragoons have no love for politics, my lady. They will gladly watch and wait while the Highborn fight amongst themselves.
Thank you, Tethys.
How very wise, Elio. We should hurry to the Forgotten Night. Tataru may have knowledge of the revolutionaries. Unbending, so defending. Now our steel shall sing.
So, the shot that you're talking about doesn't seem to be explicitly of foams, it's just showing tomestones. Because those are just normal tomestones like Podex. Those are still the data, same data. And because they have access to the Crystal Tower and technology and stuff, they could still read the information off the tomestones, and or they could just be pretty objects. We know some people just collected them because they were pretty. I just look down and all I see is go to Balmung, and I'm scared to ask, Willow. I'm scared to ask. Thank you, Tethys. DD, good to see you, glad to have you. Dragoons are experts at watching from a distance. I hope, you know, honestly, I hope the changes that Dragoons get make everyone love them and go like, fuck, now we have to love Dragoons. No, nothing sinister. I don't know, if you mention Balmung, I don't think it can't not be sinister. Oh, I can just use an A through. Instead of having to walk all the goddamn way. Who's ready for Midwestern Tataru? Oh, Elio, Alfino, gods, I've been worried sick. It's good to see you.
And you, Tataru, how did you manage to escape the chaos in the streets?
Oh, Gilbrand and the others barricaded the door until the heretics left. No one was harmed, thankfully. What about you two? What came out of your journey?
Dude, we kicked a dragon's ass. It was amazing.
And bloody. You're not serious. What was Sir Emerick thinking? I mean, the way you two talk about him, I wouldn't have believed. Anyway, I've heard rumors of the people you're looking for, but I doubt they'll be of much use. The only thing I can say with certainty is that they're led by someone called the Mongrel. Oh, if only Issa was here. Someone at Issa on the Discord. His lady's about to show.
A queer moniker if ever I've heard one, but mayhap it'll make the individual in question easier to find. Come, let us all make inquiries below.
Is it just me or does Lucia seem to be in love with Emerick? Yeah, no, I think what I want to say, I think that's a perfectly rational read. I do want to point out that sometimes we shouldn't always mistake the fact that someone feels a deep affection for or sense of duty and responsibility towards someone as immediately meaning that they are romantically in love with them. Now, I think you still totally could read her that way. But I just think that, like, there's some people who, like, love to them is not... expressing that is not in a romantic way. Like, I think there's a good chance that Lucia has no need or interest in needing to be Emerick's romantic partner, but ever wants to stand in his light. You know, and maybe that there's no differentiation just for some for that, but I do think there's, you know, it's worth pointing out that that's also possible. Eh? What's that? Speak up. I can't hear as well as I used to. Yugo, good to see you. Glad to have you. The face when I'm watching this while going about my sinister damn Balmung. Look. Are we wrong though? Like every person I've talked to from Balmung is kind of with us on that one. I'm just saying, like, you know, it's Balmung. I say it with no hatred in my heart, just with facts. I don't know a goddamn thing about the mongrel, but if it did, you can be sure I wouldn't tell you. I added him, but he's not online, so I don't know if this will show. Well, we did our due diligence. Thanks, guys. It's okay. She doesn't show up for a while yet. Thank you, Ray Ray. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not like all Balmung are the worst kind of degens. Plenty of you are respectful degenerates. And I've had plenty of fun times on Balmung, don't get me wrong. Or maybe not fun times on Balmung. I have had moments of humor that I was witness to on Balmung. A mongrel? Not sure I catch your meaning. To be a blue blood, we're all of us dogs down here. Suffice to say, he simps hard for them. Simps hard for... Hey, Trevor, good to see you. Glad to have you. Are you talking about Issa and Hilda? Don't backtrack. Balmung leaves me bemused. Like, I can't be the only one who feels this way, right? There's something about, like, Balmung. Just the name is, like, kind of degen-y. Like, yeah. Maybe it's something like, it just makes me think of, I am Cornholio. I pee from my bunghole. Something about that makes me think Balmung. Yeah, Hilda has been Issa's, like, waifu for years and years and years and years and years and years. And Zero is the first person that's ever actually kind of supplanted her. It reminds you of an old urban legend with that word that almost everyone forgot. They couldn't call it the Moist server. Not a single shred of information. Just as I expected, these revolutionaries would not have invaded capture for so long without the masses' complicity. Still, it's good to know that Tataru's ears are as sharp as ever. Frustrating though it may be, we must press on. While I continue speaking with the people of the Broom, why not go and see Gibron? Knows aught of the knows aught of value. As the proprietor of the Forgotten Knight, surely he must have heard whispers of the mongrel before. We can only hope that he'll be more forthcoming than the others. I see that name and I think .hack Balmung of the Azure Skies. Never, I've played a .hack. You know, honestly, my problem with .hack is not like its conception, but like every I looked at the games and none of the games ever encapsulated enough of the MMO experience. They're really cool ideas, but it never like fulfilled on the promise enough for me. Not that it never fulfilled on the promise, but enough for me that I was ever just like, I'd just rather go play an MMO. And obviously it's not trying to be an MMO, but like, yeah. As long as it's not Weeaboo Police of Primal, I think I'm fine whatever else this game is in store for me. Why does the Dragoons take fall damage? Shouldn't you take slightly less damage? No, because you're not using an attack, you're not using your Aether to, like, land and stuff. So you're not... I mean, if you were using your abilities, yeah. I've been on Balmung since we were still Besaid. Dude, it was once Besaid? That's such a better name! Oh my fucking god, it was named after Besaid Island? And they changed it to fucking Balmung? Why? Elliot, it's an early PS2 game trying to emulate an MMO. Yeah! It's not a criticism of it. It's just like, even playing it when it was relatively new, like in a time where World of Warcraft exists, like emulating an MMO was a really cool idea and using it narratively and, you know, like, don't get me wrong. I love everything it was doing. It just wasn't enough that I, like, fell in love. That's my point. Really hammers on the fact that playing too much of an MMO will literally kill you. Yeah. Yeah. Again, a cool idea. I think of all the legacy servers became swords. Oh, that's why. It's still dumb, but that's a good... It's understandable, but... Motherfucker. Just give me a server that's just named only after Final Fantasy X stuff. That's definitely what we need. You know, people long for a sympathetic ear, but they need to know that it comes with tight lips. Discretion, Elio, that's what my customers expect. If they don't get it, then I don't get them. That being said, I'm not without my sympathies. I've heard the tales, and I know what you've done right by the highborn and lowborn alike. Lest I can do is point you in the right direction. But to do that, I'll need you to do something for me, of course. So that happens, there's a hunter up in Crozier who owes me a fair bit of coin. However, I've agreed to accept payment in fresh herbs. Go and get them for me. Agreed? Yeah, and none of that is it's talking about why I didn't fall in love with it, not why I thought it was bad or why I didn't think it was good enough, or, you know. I'm glad the server I'm on was named after a cooler sounding sword. Dude, ours is named after a fucking death vampire with a sexy lady on his arm, so I'm pretty good with Zalera. And then, like, the main one for Elio is Curl, so we're named after a cat. I mean, what more do you want in this world? Oh, why did I go here? See, this is what happens when I'm talking to you guys. Like, I AFK my brain. I didn't attune to it! What kind of dumbass doesn't attune to the fucking... An X server called Ha 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 Ha. You're welcome. I personally prefer my Christmas version of it. Ho 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 ho. I'm on Excalibur, which feels requires no explanation. It's true. Elio, you do Street Fighter, please. It's the middle of summer. Yeah. I'll be fine for a little bit. I just love that I can walk off screen and put shit like this. Like that, like I know where everything is enough to just like go grab it and like boom. Let's do it. So Yoga Bronze Iron Boy. Good. How's he doing? Same as always, right. Anyway, I hope he appreciates how much I trouble I had to go through on account of his bloody herbs. Tell him to enjoy them while they last, because I doubt I'll be able to find any more next year. It's interesting that there's a sea wolf up here. I guess if you think about, like, Tailfeather and stuff, the migratory, like... Excalibur, he's from the United K, and he's looking for heaven. He's going to California. Oh, Soul Eater? Was that what that is? Soul Reaper? What the fuck is that anime called? I've seen, like, precisely 2 episodes of it. If it were me, you'd hear about 5 minutes of bottles and cans being shoved around before I found anything. In order to try to de-stress before stream and when I, like, can't focus on work, I try to go clean. So typically things are pretty clean around here. Okay, I'm gonna walk. If he wears it for too long, you might end up getting a rare shirtless Elio. Honestly, I'm not in shape enough to, like, do that in an interesting way right now. You want Excalibur 2? Bro, we can group up. Well, I mean, like, to be fair, also, like, yeah, guys, don't forget, if you're not part of our Discord, become a part of our Discord. Like, literally, even if you don't like Discord, if you just want to group up with people, it's a great way to, talk to people and talk about lore or just general stuff about 14 if you want. But also, if, you can use our Looking for Group to team up. And people do regularly. Thank you, Demins. Thank you, Tethys. Dude, not gonna lie, I'm really fucking like, after that first episode with Naniri playing FF1, I'm super fucking excited to replay all of the Final Fantasy games. Well, you're going to hand them out over or not? Fresh herb. Nameless flora has a pleasant enough scent to suggest it's most likely not poisonous. I look at that and I just think, is that, lavender? My desk looks like ground zero. Aye, this ought to do it. With another few spices, I can make it just like she used to. Okay, well, you know what? Fuck it then. Let's take a second. For all of you who have a dirty desk right now, this is your moment. You are being asked. No, nay, you are being told. Take a moment. Keep the stream up. Don't leave. But take this time. Even if I'm second monitor content, take this time to pause. Clean off your desk. I want you to get all the crap off of it. I want you to organize the stuff that that you use regularly, put it in a side drawer, put it somewhere, and then I want you to fucking lift up your keyboards and stuff. I want you to wipe off onto your desks. I want you just it doesn't matter if the rest of your house is a fucking nightmare chaos space. I want you to take a second, and I want you to just make one sanctuary in your world. Do it. the different kinds of reaction to that. See, but Kathra, that's fine, right? If it's you're using it practically, that's fine. If it's organized in a way that you can reach it, that's fine. It's not that you need to clear it off so there's nothing. It's just clear it off so that only the things you need and actively are using are there. And so that there isn't like crud and dust and stuff all over. Just do it. Do it! Come on, guys, do it for Hoshafant.
Aye, this ought to do. With a few other spices, I can make it just like she used to.
There are a few things. And you! Yeah, you! The one who's watching this after the fact, who wasn't here live. I totally get it. It's totally fine. But also you! You clean off your desk. I'm watching. Steve.
There are a few things which stir the hearts of men like a sip of mulled wine. Share a glass with the right people, and who knows what stories they'll share.
Anything with better armor yet? Nope. Still... Well, we're getting there.
Now that I think on it, there's a woman I know who's rather fond of this blend. Eorzean is her name, and she resides in the Pillars. She's a maidservant to some noble house or another. I forget. Anyway, be a shame if she didn't get to try this wine. Why not give her a bottle?
Don't let your dream be beams. I haven't used my desk in a while. We're not using your desk. Whatever your active thing that you use that you're like watching content or playing the game on, like wherever that resides, that is what you're cleaning off. And if you're about to be like, well, here's the counterpoint on my laptop, it's on my lap, then go take a shower. Go throw your pants in the wash and take a shower. There, you've cleaned off your space where you do your gaming. Ellie, are you playing Dragoon for the bonus commentary from the game? If so, you don't need to be Dragoon. You just need to have done the quest up to, I think, level 50 job quests. I'm not sure I understand. Ellie, you playing Dragoon for the bonus commentary from the game? No, I'm playing Dragoon because it's the canonic job for Heavensward. We were playing the canonic job. We played Warrior throughout Realm Reborn up to Heavensward, and the Dragoon's the canonic job for Heavensward up until 3.5, and then you have Monk until you get to Kugane, and then when you get Kugane, it becomes Samurai, and then it stays Samurai until you turn it to Dark Knight for Shadowbringers. Thanks, Steve. He's playing through the expansion using their poster classes. Well, also, here, like, I can't show it because it's an Endwalker trailer, but there's an Endwalker gameplay trailer that shows the, like, when each job is each job. And, like, so you arrive and you're just in normal clothing. But you play as Warrior throughout most of it. Also, technically, if you're 1.0 player, you would also Warrior would make sense. But yeah, Warrior's canonic job for that. Then Dragoon, upon arriving at Ishgard, it shows you as Dragoon, right? Now, the trailer, the CG trailer technically shows as Warrior arriving, and then you switch over while you're mid there. But I'm going with the gameplay trailers as the defining thing instead.
Yes, I am Hydaelyn. Beg your pardon, but do I know you, sir? The wine is cooled after its first mulling, allowed to sit for a fortnight before mulling a second time, with a fresh muslin bag of spices for delivery to one Hydaelyn.
Is Archer valid for 1.0? I think so. I would hold to Archer being the most valid. Like, the only example we have is the CG trailer, but 1.0 is 1.0, so most people still operate under that assumption. And also the Shadowbringer CG trailer seems to concur with it. Which, again, they're both CG trailers, so, like, their canonicity is can be wonky at times, but usually broadly you can accept. Broadly, not the specificity. So, for instance, the Shadowbringer CG trailer does not explicitly prove, yeah, the Warrior Light can switch jobs in combat. Like, the CG trailers sometimes are fast and loose with lore. And there's plenty of other examples of that.
I know this smell. This is the wine that a girl used to prepare. Her special recipe. It must be decades since I last tasted this. Oh, the poor dear. Such a shame that she was taken in by that baron. He cut a dashing figure, I'll grant you that. Tall, slender, long of ear. But those dazzling ruby eyes of his were filled with lust. 'Twas not more than infatuation, what she felt, but she convinced herself it was love, and he couldn't help but take advantage. But when her belly started to grow, gods, the scandal. I mean, 'tis not an uncommon occurrence, but that it was a Hure maid. It's so much, well, I needn't tell you. She was discharged from its service, cast out onto the streets like so much refuse. After she returned to the broom, we drifted apart. I only learned of her death years later by chance.
For Stormblood, do you play as Samurai as Monk? You play as Monk until you reach Kugane, and then you switch over to Samurai. When you walk into Kugane, it shows it as Sam. And then you could argue that you could switch back to Monk upon going back to Gerbanya. However, I think it's probably more likely, seeing as you can see it shows as Sam in the point X patches. I think I would just say stay as Sam after that. You could also argue, though, because the battle on the Fist is Monk, you could also potentially argue that you do return to Monk when you go to Gerbanya. It's a little loose at that point. Monk and Alamigo, Sam upon arriving in Kugane. Yeah, but how do you choose? You look at the gameplay trailers and you look at the CG trailers. So you go based on what canon has shown. There's also a UGP cutscene in 2019 Rising that shows the version of you in each of the canonical outfits and includes an Archer 1.0 gear. Perfect, Ray. See, this is why I'm so glad you're checking out that stuff. I think UGP even commented the Warrior of Light being a ranged class is lame. Yeah, I really solidly think I really think 7.0 is caster. I think it's the one type of job that's never gotten repped. I really do think it's definitely gonna be caster. But my track record for predictions for this game are not. Oh, duh, it's down. It's over down there. Aren't phenomenal. So I think it just also makes sense because caster's likely to be not likely. If there are two jobs, I will pretty much say that a caster's guaranteed effectively. If you think about the pattern of job releases. And so, you know, especially if like it's a new caster, it being the poster, you know, child would be, I mean, we've only had old jobs as the only time, the last time we had a new job as a poster child was Sam in Stormblood. So actually that might have been the only time. Yeah, because Warrior, Dragoon, yeah, it was the only time. So the amorous nobleman beds his maidservant and casts her aside when this seed takes root. Not the most original tale, is it? Cold comfort for the women and children who live through it, though. See, Tethys, you know I agree. You know, I've made videos saying that I think that, but, you know, still, I try not to be, like, too definitive on it, but yeah, I do definitely think that new job being Geomancer makes a lot of sense, especially if you go to... It makes sense loosely if we go to New World. It makes a lot of sense if we go to Mayor Cydia. It makes ton of sense if we do anything with Hingashi. But, you know, or a version of Geomancer. Even the penitent can appreciate wine from the time to time. Take Gerlio, for example. Surely you've heard of him, no? He's a monk who offers succor to the poorest of the poor in the broom. A man of many vows, but none which prohibit spirituous beverages. Aye, if ever there was a man who deserved a drink, it'd be him. Making a bet at least. Well, no, because if you start the Reaper, the Sam quest line doesn't start in Kugane, remember? So, like, you could easily be a level 60 Sam. Unless that was not your point you're making, in which case, never thee mind. Watching Geomancer and Mystic Knight come inside. I don't think Mystic Knight. I really do. Okay, let me put it this way. Trevor, Mr. I think is probably gone at this point, but I would love to talk about that Void thing, but you gotta give me a pitch on Mystic Knight that does not overlap things that already exist meaningfully, because the thing is, a job needs a meaningful identity in a weapon that hasn't been covered before. It needs a meaningful identity in its job class identity, and the thing is, we don't need any, if there's a job we're gonna get a scouting, if we were getting a melee. We definitely aren't getting a tank. We would probably get range, caster, or scouting would be the three. And so it's like hard for me to think that a Mystic Knight makes a lot of sense. But if someone can give me a pitch that I can get behind, I'd love to hear it. Holidays blessing be upon you, sir. A gift for me. A whip job may come. Or do you just want it to be kinky, don't you, Ray Ray? This scent, how reminiscent of a wine once made by a dear old friend. May her soul rest in peace. Forsaken by her family, she toiled tirelessly to feed and clothe her child. Yet somehow she found the time to help me tend those in even worse circumstances. So compassionate she was, so full of love for her fellow man. 'Twas the love which gave her child strength to endure the scorn of the other's younglings.
That little girl, bless her heart. She couldn't help but she was what she was. Eventually she won them over, but those first few years were trying, even more so when she had start fending for herself. I remember the days she spent standing on the walls, raven black hair flowing in the wind, staring out as if it's searching for her mother's face in the midst.
I would be all over Geomancer. Oh, Geomancer, I think there's a really solid chance. I wouldn't say definite, but definitely solid. Yoshi was pretty cool walking out FanFest and Samurai gear. I mean, he also fucking walked out in Reaper gear and as a Gunbreaker. Like, dude, all the times Yoshi has walked out fucking dope. When he walked out as Black Mage and for the 2016 FanFest, good shit. Now, the new caster's just blue 2 Electric Boogaloo. Electric Boogaloo. I looked up because it made me curious. It just simmered and now bought a broil so it doesn't get hot enough to evaporate the alcohol, but the spices are cooked. Interesting. Yes, kinky. I want a whip job based on Belmont. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's lots of room for more Castlevania inspiration. Elias, good to see you. Glad to have you. I also want more fishnets. You just want Rocky Picture Horror Show as some kind of job, don't you? Catboy Yoshi P was best Yoshi P. There are definitely many who agree with you.
She was a remarkable woman, Elio. After everything she was forced to endure, she still remained hopeful for the future, for her daughter's future.
If we go to Mirror City, they can introduce Beastmaster as a second limited job. In most games, they use a whip. Yeah, I would wonder if there's, like, some ethics about using a whip on creatures to, like, control them that they might want to avoid. But I, like in a classical sense and of ignoring anything that's problematic about it, like, yeah. I totally think that it makes a lot of sense for the Beastmaster to use a whip.
Some bonds are thicker than blood, but blood still defines us and divides us in the end. It's the legacy of our parents, Elio. We can't escape it, no matter how hard we try. So the mongrel and her pups chose to embrace theirs, to proclaim it all to all and sundry. If you can understand that, then maybe you can find her on your own.
Yeah. It should be walked out with katana drawn, that's the difference. I mean, he walked out with the fucking gunblade ready to go, and a scythe that was fucking... Honestly, like, I appreciate Samurai Yoshi P. I mean, like, fuck, they even made the minstrel look like him, right? But, like, I found the outfit, like, just having worked on cosplay and stuff, like, I found the, like, Gunbreaker and Reaper costumes more exciting for me personally. You know, because just to see, like, okay, cool yukata with a, you know, with a katana, with a ridiculous Tsuba. I could go for a Rocky Horror job. It's just blue, but instead of casting some weird-ass spells, you just enhance your staff and beat people to death with it. Okay, that's just a Clockwork Orange as a job. In EverQuest, the Beastmasters use Monk Fists. Sadly, that is already covered. Broom starving. Oh, that's why I can't find them.
Still looking for your mongrel? Look, like I said before, take your pick. Plenty around, if you know where to look. Or did you fancy someone specific? Oh, someone's got unusual tastes. Afraid I can't help you, though. Won't, rather. It's bloody obvious you ain't of the broom. Did you think I'd just tell you because you asked nicely?
Beastmasters use one-handed axes in 11. If they go a limited job route, I could see them taking ideas from 11. The difference is that you don't need help from the mobs to kill anything in 14. Yeah, I guess the thing I would say about, and I've said this elsewhere. Now, to be fair, we have daggers and swords with like Paladin and Ninja, right? I wonder, is a single-hand axe meaningfully different enough when you already have like warrior? And great axe is different, right? Like we have great swords, and daggers. So I think it could be, but like, I don't know, does it have enough pizzazz? Do you need to be a little something more, you know? Like a one-handed axe, but with something else going on. Or, you know, double-handed, one-handed axes or something. And maybe not. Maybe you don't need that little bit of, like, zush. Warhammer? Nah, I would save a Warhammer if they were going to... One, Warhammer, there are already so many skins, which doesn't preclude it. There was a fucking Scythe skin before we had Reaper, but there's so many, like, Warhammer skins for Warrior. I don't know that that's, like, distinct enough. I would look towards some other thing.
Have you made any progress, Elio? Ranger job for Archer.
Well, there's never gonna, I promise you, there is never, ever going to be another class there's never gonna be a class that exists, there's never gonna be another class, and there's never gonna be another class that exists that's going to get a new split onto another job. And I promise you not just because of, like, one, what I want, but literally because the devs have, like, repeatedly hammered that home time and time again. So, sadly, Blinkster, to answer your question, absolutely promise you never. At least not in 14. So a mongrel was born of the Eorzean nobleman and a Eorzean maidservant. Granted, it's no location, but it's far more information than we had before. Yes, now that our striking features are known to us, mayhap we need only remain vigilant. There may be a way we can draw the mongrel out into the open. Maybe perhaps we should discuss this with Tataru. Speaking of which, where is Tataru? Oh, confound it. She went below to make inquiries on her own, didn't she? We must find her quickly, Elio. I have premonition this is not going to end well. We still need a scimitar job? Yeah. Like one-handed hammers, mauls, or two-handed ones. Yeah. Revive the Musketeer Guild in Limsa. But to what effect, right? To what points? When so much of that is already covered. Like, Machinists took parts of that, and if they're going to make a new job, they're not going to want to make a split off of it because, one, it's a pain in their ass and unnecessary. The only reason classes still exist are as a byproduct of 1.0, and, like, if they could remove them without breaking a bunch of crap, they would. The problem is that so much is built around them already. Scimitars are gladiator paladin weapons. Yeah. But, like, there's a difference between if you can make them distinguished enough because there's, like, there's size, there's hammers, you know. Geomancer's a magical DPS wielding a bell. Yeah, that's my predicted idea. Or like a foci, like the ones we see in Kugane. Mystic Knights is a physical DPS wielding dual swords. No. So here's my opinion. I don't think you're ever going to see a dual swords because you already have daggers and you already have sword with Paladin. I don't think dual swords is different enough. Unless those swords are a different kind of sword and distinct enough of a different kind of sword. Like, I think you could see like a double-bladed sword as one weapon. But just two swords, I don't think would work because Paladins already use swords, and you don't want to have a crossover between that. So you have to make them specific enough that it's his own identity. Light magic to attach elemental effects to physical attacks. And, like, I don't dislike the light magic attaching elemental effects to physical attacks, but one, technically that is what Gunbreaker kind of already does with its cartridges. And two, what you're describing doesn't really work as a scouting. So, like, it wouldn't necessarily fit in terms of what we're looking at 7.0. Beastmaster has a new limited job wielding a whip. Yeah, Beastmaster is definitely a limited job, no question. Whips seem more like a ranged weapon to me. Yeah, I think you could totally see a ranged DPS with a whip. Yeah. I think that totally works. They already gave a lot of Falchion Scimitar models to Paladin. Yeah. They definitely did. Now, again, that is never a completely exclusionary thing. Because, you know, they had, for stabs, they had sides. For, like, axes, they had sides. Like, before Reaper came out. So, it's not impossible to have some pre-existing similarity. But if it is dual swords, they won't be swords. Because Paladin already has sword. You would have to have a different categorization. I mean, yes, there's the example of Scholar, and Summoner both having tomes. Well, actually, technically, they're delineated as different. But, like, the important thing to remember is that's also a byproduct of them being split from class thing, and that's not a thing that will ever happen again. Some Beastmaster with some sort of claws. Well, no, because remember, as Beastmaster, it's not you being Beast, it's you in control of monsters. So you want to think about that more, right? Dual Swords going full Drizzt. Repurpose the Musket Guild and Limsa to be a Tataru franchisee. Could work. Like a range job with crossbow and shield. I don't think shield. No, you wouldn't see shield. Crossbow, maybe, although then how different is that? Like, you already have crossbow usages with machinists and stuff, so... I mean, like, that already crosses over into other things. You're more likely to see something like, you know, Wild Theories and to much of many chagrins, but you're more likely to see something like a Blitzball because it's a distinct identity, right? And it has to be a distinct identity in order to prevent crossover. Claws are berserker stuff. Yeah, I would like to see more. And also, the thing is, claws are just monk weapons. Like, monks already use claws. We already have that. I would like to see more weapon diversity in all classes and there being a catch for choosing one type over another. Elias, I appreciate that. I will tell you, I desperately don't want that. Personally, I fucking hate that. Just give me a job that has its weapon and let me master that job. rather than giving a bunch of choice that's false choice, because ultimately people are going to want you to optimize anyways. So like healing potency is not a meaningful choice because it's just like materia choice, which is eventually everyone's going to go crit direct hit because instead of determination and tenacity, because you just want more uptime, and the only thing that determination and tenacity does is helps you if you're getting hit, and you can learn to not get hit. So to me, I think almost all the time stuff like that in MMOs just ends up being a false choice and is not fun, and instead I'd just rather have the thing that's the thing I master. If I want a healing potency instead of playing warrior, if I want to be able more healy or more supporty, go play paladin, you know, or go play a healer, and I'd much rather have that design philosophy. And I can tell you that it's one of the reasons I've enjoyed 14 long term in a way that I haven't with other games.
She must be around here somewhere. I take it you had no luck either.
Ah! Oh, I'm sorry. Forget I said anything.
Wait, down there. Is that Tataru? What's the matter chasing her? Quickly, Elio. After them.
My uptime! Oh, no! But I simply must do more damage.
Where do you think you're going?
Oh my god, it's voiced.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend.
What's going on here?
What's it to you, boy? Piss off.
Hold on. I've seen them around. They're in and out of House 4 Tom's Manor all the time.
Oh, I see. Skulking about at your highborn master's bidding, eh? Bloodhounds hoping to catch a whiff of heresy, is that it?
You are quite mistaken, I assure you. We came here to help. And if you know what's good for you, you will let us pass.
Haha! Listen to the pups yapping. Come here, boy. I'll give you cause to yelp.
New jobs, like Sage and Reaper are effectively new deaths. Sage technically has been used as a name before, but...
Threatening women and children to our betters. We don't have the knack.
Hilda!
Lay a finger on the Blue Blood's pups, and you're like to lose the hand.
Blow darts are already used in minigames. And like Shadowbringers are part of MSQ. And Stormblood.
And often I get called on by glorious heroes like yourself. So tell me, what have I done to deserve you?
I know that voice. Who is this voice actress? Depends on what you mean by druid class. Weapon choice and horizontal percussion is a different FFM. Is it? Yeah. Like, the thing is like, weapon choice in 11 works because of how 11 works. The thing is that 14 and how it's fundamentally designed, like, Elias, I also don't, like, fault you for, like, wanting that from combat. I will say, just because I don't like it, don't want it, doesn't mean, like, I think it's inherently bad. I think I just find it not meaningful. In the same way that, like, people are like, gearing in 14 is boring. It's like, yes, but that's also because, one, it's so that 14 can better respect your time, and also because, for some people, like me, gearing in other MMOs isn't fun. It's just a relief to have the things that you need. So instead, this is, I can spend my time, I can get the things that I need, it's very easy, it's very simple, it's very straightforward. Yes, there's not a lot of choice, but that's because it's mostly about mastering your job and mastering each fight, and there is room to do stuff with, like, gear and stuff, but it is, the thing is that people always will optimize, and so I find it much more fun to focus on mastering what my job is and mastering the fight than to faff about with gear, because that doesn't change anything for me. It doesn't, like, getting something that's slightly better in gear isn't fun for me. It's just, okay, cool. Now I have the thing to, like, maybe do slightly better. I'd much rather get better at the fight because I got better at the fight, typically.
Before you start, let's go somewhere a bit more private, eh? The Forgotten Knights, say.
I agree with you on that. Having one type of weapon and mastering that is definitely more streamlined. Yeah. And here's what I'll also say. In my opinion, because most other games, I think do go about the way you're saying, at least most MMOs that I would think of. I think like the main examples of not that would be like Guild Wars 2 because of how horizontal the like system is for weapons specifically. But no, because the thing is, no, because each job you can choose different weapons. Like, you know, like Guardian, you can choose between Greatsword or Axe and Shield. Yeah, so I would say definitely Guild Wars. I think Guild Wars 2, WoW, like a lot of the other main ones already do that. That I'm happy that 14 exists, whereas like the focus is instead on that streamline. But I know that doesn't help you, for instance, if you're like a really big fan of 14 and only want to play 14, and you like that system. Jay Jacobs, she voiced Amaya. Do I know her from something else? Thank you, Tethys. Oh, yes! That is what I'm thinking of. I think it is. Maybe it's not. Give me a second. She's only done 2 things for voice acting.
So, while you're on your way to kill Nidhogg, you stumbled on some dirty secrets that the Holy See has been hiding for centuries.
Eh? What are they?
Horizon Zero Dawn. That's what it is.
The High Houses. And what makes a nobleman so bleeding noble? They trace their blood back to King Thordan and his Knights 12, the founders of Ishgard. But our friends here reckon we're all descended from the heroes of Eld, highborn and lowborn alike.
Not yet, Des.
And so Sir Emmerich,
Good to see, glad to have you.
Lord of the Temple Knights, has gone to ask the Archbishop if he wouldn't mind letting everyone know.
Is the ultimate... Ray, is your Limit Break 3 throwing this?
Have him executed for heresy.
Oh. This is my Limit Break 3, baby!
What the good sir wants. Seems he thinks a noble sacrifice will serve to prove his claims.
We cannot stand idly by and allow Sir Emmerich to do this. Ishgard has need of him.
Look, you've a good heart, I can see that. Willing to risk your neck for someone else even when his troubles ain't yours. But what's this got to
I'm
do
with AC. Don't make Keyblade a weapon in FF, please.
If Sir Emmerich is imprisoned in the vault, we will need all the help we can muster to breach their defenses and rescue him.
Yes, Lore. You can watch my video on it, if Ray, if you want to link it. But yeah, there's multiple. Here, Eorzean are pretty rare. That I think Hilda's the main one that you can think of. But yeah, there are here Garleans. There's multiple. There's 3 at least that I can think of, if not more, off the top of my head.
The unmistakable scent of heresy.
Yeah, exactly, Trevor. And I prefer that. Focus on gameplay.
And what do we have here? The honored guests of House Fortom consorting with the Queen of Rats. Ooh, plotting insurrection, I shouldn't wonder. That won't do.
Chakrams,
Sickness
cards.
is wont to fester and spread. It must be burnt out ere the infection takes hold.
I reckon Sir'd be happy to wield the irons himself. Well, so happens I've got irons of my own.
This is why people like Hilda. I don't think it's lipstick. That's a natural color for your lips.
certain to attack when cornered. Let us step outside, milady. In here, your toys could hurt someone.
Oh, it does sound like Wedge's VA, is it? That's funny. Still clashes. I think it's a stark contrast. I don't know that I would just say it straight up clashes so much as it's like just very contrast is very like if it was like yellow or something. But especially because if you look at it with the color of his eyes and combination and stuff, you know. Give him the flat tepish! Damn, there's no end to them. It seems you are beyond reason. How marvelous!
You disgust me.
I suppose now is as good a time as any. We call those concealer lips. What's funny is I met someone who was trying to cosplay Sora on Primal. People will try to cosplay anything. Could be wearing Balm because it's cold up there. Yeah, good point. Oh, I forgot. I now have access to Thing and Claw. It's granted by full thrust. What gives full thrust? Okay. Lord Hoshevant, over here. How fitting. The noble bastard and the mongrel bitch. Aye, this mongrel bitch is gonna put a bullet between your eyes. Charbert isn't half wrong, though. I suspect the smell of heresy is coming from him. Fair point.
Filthy rats!
This dude reminds me of Flame Heinard from Mega Man X7. I have never played Mega... Honestly, the only Mega Mans I've ever played are Battle Network, which are fucking phenomenal games if you've never played the Battle Network series. And they're phenomenal games that still hold up. However, I wish someone would make a spiritual successor to them. Some people have made spiritual successors to it in, like, combat, but not in, like, the sense of world. Hilda is definitely a treasure. That's the smell wafting over from Balmont. But your point about Organization 13 weapons, many of them are already in the game if you think about it. Is it? Oh, that's super cool, Trevor. Maybe I'll play that on stream or something. It's been a long time since I've visited these games.
A well-deserved reputation indeed.
Enough!
She just straight jumped over that whole fountain. And he just jumped on that roof. Is everybody a dragoon here? I'm feeling less special. Yep, apparently everyone's a dragoon.
Lucky bastard.
Nay,
Oh, it's dropping on Switch? Nice.
had we fought on, 'twas but a matter of time before our conflict claimed the life of an innocent bystander.
Thanks for letting me know, Trevor.
I thought the Heavensward might come here as well.
They came to the Temple Knights' headquarters.
Aye. Sir Grinno announced that the Lord Commander had been imprisoned under suspicion of heresy, and that the Heavensward had been granted full authority in his stead.
then the Heavensward now commands the Temple Knights.
Those still loyal to Sir Emmerich answer to me. Alas, that amounts to but half our number. The other half, who opposed his promotion to Lord Commander, are gathered at the vault as ordered.
Bolstering the guard already, eh? If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were expected.
I take it you're in charge around here?
Hilda. And yes, the young master was just persuading me to join his lost cause. Convincing little beggar, isn't he? Your passion moved me. A bit. That, and the fact that we're sick of living off the leavings of our betters. If you've a mind to change things around here, then we've a mind to join you.
Thank you, Tethys. Also listen to Tethys. That includes you, Steve. Alright, let me guess. You're wondering why I chose the mongrel, right? Because it's what I am, and I'm not ashamed of it. Not anymore. Besides, even my pureblood plebs have more in common with me than the lords and ladies up on high. None of them, are well-bred. Hell, some of their mothers were cast out on after a spot of fun, same as mine. Story old as time, and one we're sick of hearing, which is why we took up arms. Not that we mean to hold all the blue bloods to account. Some have done right by us. I'll allow, like them in House Hydaelyn. But enough talk. Your friend's still rotten in his cell. Let's not keep him waiting. That's referencing the machinists, because House Hydaelyn is like the son of House Hydaelyn is basically like trying to create the machinists, the Sky Seal manufactory, to be able to like have access to everyone, high and lowborn, like a machinist, or basically like the great egalitarian job. I feel like there was a thing I was going to mention. Oh, yeah, well, here, let's see. There's might be voice acting, so. We've been working secrets to undermine the Holy See and the High Houses. That much I'll acknowledge. But this nonsense about us throwing wide the gates for the heretics is just that. Nonsense. If not you, then who? You Temple Knights, of course. Reckoned it was your beloved Sir Emmerich doing it first, but then I heard how he lost his head. My next best guess would be the Heavensward. That way they'd even be a perfect excuse to go door to door through the broom, slaughter the heretics and their sympathizers in one fell swoop. But the Heavensward scheme did not account for Lady Iceheart's intervention, and so they've been forced to improvise. A fine bloody mess, ain't it? But the die is cast, so what's the plan? We must divert the attention of the high houses away from the city. To do that, we need cooperation of your allies in their service. And what makes you think I have friends in high places? You would be a fool's not to, given your goals. Low-born knights are ideal recruits. Most swore fealty out of a desire for a better life. If offered opportunity to shed the yoke and live for themselves, who among them would not at least be tempted to take it? Rare is the man eager to die for a cause he does not hold dear, but if need not come to that this day, if they and their fellow knights are deployed afield to deal with a new threat, a massing of heretics, for example, then they will be unable to join in the defense of the vault. Huh, spread false reports of an attack and get them out of harm's way, you mean? The city will not forget the heretics' last assault. If the high houses believe another attack is imminent, they will have no choice but to act. Can it be done? Can we trick them into leaving Ishgard? Aye. Can we keep them out for long? Not bloody likely. Make sure you're ready before I send word, because you won't get a second chance like this. Then it is decided. To the vault! The Archbishop must be held to account. And the Lord Commander granted his liberty. The machinists allowed the workers to finally seize the means of production. Inventor gave her the gun. Yep. Oh, why am I forgetting his name? Oh, I love him. I always forget his name. It's a long one. Hearken on to me, everyone. We have two objectives. Rescue Sir Emmerich and apprehend the Archbishop. We will therefore divide our forces into two parties. Istini and I will make ready to breach the underground jail and search for the Lord Commander. We will not move, however, until the second party has entered the vault.
I speak of your party, Warrior of Light, together with Lord Hoshafant and Master Alfino. For this plan to succeed, you will need to fight your way to the highest levels of the vault, even unto the Archbishop's private chambers. When the Heavensward realizes what you intend, they will fly to the Master's side, leaving only a token force to guard the jail. Temple Knights loyal to our cause have already secured the entrance to the vault. Once you are within, they will signal us. If all goes to plan, we shall rejoin you with Sir Aymeric and confront the Archbishop together. Is everyone clear as to their duties? Then let us do what we must be done.
Stevanovan, thank you. Yes, that's what it is. Yes. I'm always like, Steven? No, Stevanovan. Yes, that is him. The machinist, as a long-time machinist, main, and omnicrafter, we are the means of production. Damn, good to see you. Glad to have you. I run this dungeon every single day because of reasons. To real quick go back to an earlier point. Organization 13. Okay, Xemnas Energy Blades. Kind of don't really have that. But, number 2, we got, oh my god, my brain keeps saying Ixal, but no, it's, Issa. Syax? Yeah. I mean, that's basically the warrior weapon. Zigbar, you've got guns with machinist. Kunai, you got the kunai, it kind of goes already with ninja. You got tomes, ass and summoner. You've got giant great axe thing, so that's actually warrior as well. So I guess Syax could be great sword. You have spears with Zaldin, I think. So that's already taken. Instruments, you kind of already have the instrument game of Demix with Bard. You have Axel, Chakrams, Dancer, obviously. Is there any that's really missing? Sages, lasers, pew pew pew, close enough for Xemnas, yeah. IDK how coding works, but to see Horsefund as a DPS with the sword and shield was weird. I went in with NPCs as tank. So remember, the job he is he's a knight. So remember that just because NPCs use the same weapons as you does not mean that they are your job. For instance, Y'shtola is not a black mage. She is a sorceress. She's a combination of black magics and white magics, but is not like a red mage. There's other examples of this too, but just remember that not every character, just because they use a thing, is the job. Thancred is a gunbreaker. Urianger is an astrologian. Yeah. Horsefond is a gladiator. Maybe on code side, but I'm pretty sure that he's designated as, his class is designated as knight. Let's see. Well, it'll tell us when we get there. Lexus for dark or water or war. Yeah. Gambler. Yeah, so I was gonna say, so Gambler, the thing is I've talked about like a Lady Luck class would be definitely a thing that I'd be down for. And I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. He's glad on the wiki. Well, the wiki's not the game. So I don't care what the wiki says because the wiki has straight up lied to me on multiple occasions and stated things as fact. If it says in here, then we trust it.
The others are in position, Master Elio. I will send word once your party have entered.
Like, the wiki never, ever, 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 ever use the wikis as a primary source. Ever. Just, like, straight up, I beseech you don't. See? Chivalric Knight. And Alfino's Academy. Oh my god, I can't say words. But see, so his class is technically Chivalric Knight. I'm a Dragoon, Chivalric Knight, oh my god, I can't say words today. Banneret. So see, like, this is why you don't use the wiki. Dragoons can't use 6 lances at once, unfortunately. It's true. Well, it could be a later attack that they end up learning. As someone who works on the wiki, I can tell you it's not always correct. Most of my work on the wiki is fixing errors. Yeah. Because her and Istinia are down underground. They're checking the jails underground. That's what they said. And I assume that the reason they didn't want them in the party is because how they come in during the cutscenes means that they would have to edit that. Actually, I just want to double check real quick. I will send word once you and your party have elves. Yep, okay, there's nothing new. So I know there's an addition. I know there's a new cutscene or something, but I haven't seen, I have no idea what it is. You guys ready? I will wait a second to make sure everyone's ready to get going. I would just in this moment like to say, it is always worthy of remembering that of course I come in during the vault. We're just beginning. I'm never ready. Will we fight together? Also, Eorzean can be a tank if you're not a tank. So see, he is a tank for me. No, nope, nope, no one's ready. Justinian can only use 6s because he can make copies of himself. On the bright side, because we're doing duty support, at least the vault will be a little bit longer. I like to see some chain weapons, foes, Kusari Gamma. Yeah, honestly, I was thinking about like Kusari Gamma or something like that for the like Lady Luck class. I totally hear you, Decoy. I know not to trust the wiki, but it has proven wrong on the occasion, so I take it what it has with a grain of salt. Right, but you did just try to correct me using the wiki as your source. Which, like, please, if I'm wrong, correct me. Not to say anything about that. I'm just pointing out, like, anytime anyone uses the wiki, I'm like, I learned long ago when I started working on the channel, it's like, oh, you can't trust the wiki for shit. Like, sometimes it's good, but the thing is you can't trust it. And so it kind of becomes almost useless. If you stop now, nothing bad will happen. I would like to point out that if you stop now, Dragonsong War still, yeah, if you stop now, basically, they still get away and Dragonsong War Ultimate happens. And as Tolkien would put it, it could have been different, but it couldn't have been better. Because we know that the fate of the world had the Vault not happened the way it did happen, would maybe not have been for the better, as tragic as sorrowful as it is. And much better to honor someone's memory in what they stood for than to change fates just for their sake. Warriors can use chains. Sure. Yeah, it's not so much like using chains, right? Because that's like one ability. More though, like the weapon and chain, right? I like that the church is kind of enough to make Eorzean to holy. That is the first one, Des, where I've been like, oh, maybe that was too far. The wiki is more of an index, not a reference. Yeah, and the thing is like, if you're searching up cited sources too, like, yeah, it's good, it's great. But like, Ray can tell you, Gamerscape is usually like kind of considered one of the better ones, and Gamerscape, she's constantly having to like fix errors. Fan wikis would be fine if they operated like a main Wikipedia site where things are sourced well, and you can, I will tell you, Decoy, as someone who has has like volunteered for some of those wikis, I don't necessarily agree with that. I can tell you, actual wikis like Wikipedia and stuff, they're not always better either. When they cite, yeah, the cited stuff is better. However, I will tell you, I have read through cited things that were cited for information, and they have sometimes said the opposite of what is stated in the wiki. So even then, it's like a little suspect. I guess I would just say ever treat wikis as primary sources. You can use them to find cited info, which, I mean, like, if you're, like, which is basically saying, I think, yeah, a source well if you can find and click citations easily, yeah. I would just say, like, never use wikis as, like, a reference point, maybe, but, like, yeah. To change fate, even one person can lead to a massive change overall, yeah. The Wandering Minstrel is the only fanfiction that is canon as fanfiction. Yeah. But also remember that it is still fanfiction too, right? So like if you take like specific lore details as factoids from it, the Epic of Alexander I think is a good example. That is him taking a tale of Othard and mixing it with your story for his idea of what something that might have happened. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is what happened. Well, that's what I'm saying is what finding sources. That's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're totally on the same page then, Decoy. If you use Wikipedia to find sources and cite from those, yeah, I totally like as a source finder. Totally love that stuff. But the thing I find is that just because it's look, none of this is to say like, oh, how dare you guys trying to use wikis. This is only coming from me because of hard-won lessons about don't use wikis. Not because of anything. Using Wikipedia as a source finder is a beautiful university hack. Yeah. Although I will say, like, if you use like Google, what's it called? Google Scholar? Did they change the name? I forget what the fuck it's called. But there are also other ways, if you know what they are, or have access to university databases, which stupidly are not as public as they should be. That's how I graduated, yeah. That's what got me through college, yep. To be honest, I've never touched the trust system, so I haven't seen what he's classified as though that. But I didn't know he was technically a glad, given the fact that he doesn't use certain abilities. Yeah. Well, no, but like, for instance, but like, the thing is, he also uses abilities that our gladiator doesn't have access to anymore. I'm pretty sure. Or that happens with like the sorceress you stole. Like, she uses abilities that don't even exist for other jobs. So like, for a lot of them, it's not just paladin, it's not just job minus things. It's like some of them have bespoke abilities or things that like were removed from the game for like gladiator. Like, I'm pretty sure at least one version of a job of a character like him can use flash, which hasn't been in the game for years. Don't take a game wiki seriously unless it has oversight from the devs like RuneScape's wiki. I mean, honestly, even then, be careful, right? Because, I mean, unless this devs are saying you can treat this as a canonic source, even with oversight, unless the devs are like the ones running it, you know, the oversight can only go so far unless they have someone dedicated to working on it. Look, part of also this wariness comes from the fact that I've had to like talk to a bunch of people in the Discord and elsewhere, or in comments and stuff, who like, this thing is fact and it's this, and then they cite the wiki, and then you go to the wiki and you're like, this is like patently and demonstrably false. Yeah, Encyclopedia Eorzean has errors in it, you know, so you have to be that, like, that's why it's important to check the game text. You know, the obvious example that I think Ray raised, you know, is what's her face from Ada's group says that she died in the Rising Stones instead of dying in the Waking Sands. You know, just like, it's a minor flaw, but like, it's worth remembering that, like, and keeping an eye on. Easy Babe is what got me through college. Guys, remember that in some other time, some other place, Horseman is still alive out there in high school. Yeah, the alternate universe stuff is not my favorite thing in the world. But I appreciate that a lot of people enjoy the shit out of it. So, future reference, the coming cutscene, my controller freaked out and skipped it on my first run. When I got to watch it proper, I was madder at my controller for taking the pistons. Your Adventure Squadron tank still uses flash. Yeah, interesting. There we go. Is Adventure Squadron, though, classified as Gladiator? I don't know if the Adventure Squadrons actually are. Aren't they? They are, like, class, though. And that's also because the Squadron entire system was made and basically hasn't been updated since the point it was made. I like that about other NPCs and their versions of job. Makes me feel like everyone got a different job crystal or variant teachings. Well, the thing is, they don't have job crystals. So it's not like Y'shtola has a job crystal. Those are just the things that Y'shtola has learned. So there isn't a sorceress job crystal. There isn't a chivalric knight job crystal, for instance. Not every practice or discipline has a job crystal. Yeah, or variant teachers, yeah. Gladiator and Marauder. Yeah. Squadron or Archons still use Shadow Flare, yeah. And some of them do harm. Actually, are they do harm? No, they're called Faces of the Hero. I wonder if they'll ever let us rank up higher than Captain. So they're, at least as far as I'm aware, I've looked a little bit into it, so don't take my word for much, but is that they are not going to ever add that unless they come up with content that makes sense to add for it. They're not going to add it just to add it. So could it ever happen? My impression is exceedingly unlikely, but not impossible. They just learn skills when they grind other classes. The only reason we limit it is because our character is boring. Yashilla's like, F that, I know the skills, I'm gonna use it. Well, it's because we learned the base principles from our classes and then used job crystals as our shorthand to be able to use a job. And so whereas Y'shtola just learned all she learned from a young age, but so like Y'shtola doesn't have the basic principles to be a gladiator, or the to like use gladiator. Like if you gave her a paladin soul crystal, she wouldn't be able to use it. If you gave her anything other than like a white mage or black mage soul crystal, she probably wouldn't be able to use it. And so she just kept putting all her points into learning those specific spells, and learned different spells from Numenon that might be in than what might be in our soul crystal, because of our soul crystal primarily being Shitoto and Maki spells, you know, and the Amdaporian white mages, right? And so like you could also have a white mage now learning, you know, the Pagel version of a white mage is somewhat differs from, you know, a regular white mage. If you actually look at the spells like Kanisena or Eorzean Senna and stuff used. They're sometimes they use some slightly different spells. Yeah. Attrition credibility for us to have the rank of captain. Any higher rank is definite full-time command job. It's fair. Although you could easily argue, I think it's like an honorary position, right? Like an honorary captain, effectively. I mean, also, we're headed into peacetime, so it's not like our responsibilities would be quite the same. But that is a fair point to have this. I feel like you could probably write around that, right? Alisaie is a new red mage, and she doesn't have a soul crystal, right? So she doesn't have a soul crystal, but she learned red magic from Jruntia. She might actually, in theory, she could potentially have one, but she doesn't describe it as. She just describes it from as having had learned the practices from Jrun. She may have devised her own abilities though in the time that since she left Jrun's side. I haven't looked at what her abilities are. So she may be a slight offshoot of the variant of the discipline. I'm uncertain. Angel, good to see you, glad to have you. Ours are like Vermilion for red mage. We see red mages use scarlet spells. Or is that true for all of them? I haven't looked at Jrun's spells either particularly. Oh my god, it's He-Man.
I shall show you something special.
I feel like him saying I shall show you something special is a little bit of Japanese horse chiffon slipping through. Who's with me? No, just the ones we see in Baja, not sure about the others. Well, it's interesting. Baja and Red Mage is a little bit... That gets a little bit different, though, because that is a branch. But to your point, it is a branch, right? The interesting question is exactly when all of those branches came out, because was it... Gay bar is in the way. Gay, you mean our gay bulge? I want to take you to a gay bar. Well, in game world like this, it's often more the case that other disciplines we don't know about exist and can have crystals we can't get, then devs allow it. Machinist is like this. No, but Decoy, I'm telling you, but there are cases where that's not the case. And Machinist isn't really a good example of that. I mean, like, yeah, there are other examples of soul crystals in the world. That's totally true. But like, it's not there are things that we are not allowed to have. There are cases of there are disciplines in which there are not soul crystals, because soul crystals aren't just willy-nilly given out for everything. Machinist is like one of the few exceptions to that, but also that's a highly intentional thing that is done by Savanovan. No, it was MASH jokes based on the He-Man reference. Ah, those pretenders are nothing like my beloved Japanese horse font. Take that back. So there are definitely soul crystals out there we don't know about. I mean, like, there will be more that we find. Every time there's a new job, we'll find new soul crystals, no question. But it doesn't mean we should assume every single discipline in the world has a soul crystal. That is not in any way what is implied to us in the text so far.
Away with you.
Machinist especially because we're the first holder of that crystal. Yeah, it's a blank slate. Someday someone will inherit a job crystal first wielded by the Warrior of Light. Yep, exactly, Angel. The unknown soul candies taunt me. Ah, the flavors of the soul candies. I think we did a talk on the flavors of the soul crystals. I think I put it over up on the plus channel. Isn't Blue Mage also newish? No. As far as we know, the Wallachui seem to be relatively ancient. Blue Mage soul crystals, the Blue Mage practices have existed for anywhere between hundreds to potentially thousands of years, depending on how long the Wallachui have been around. You did. I was there for that. Man, that was a while ago, wasn't it? You know, Square Enix is really missing out on the great marketing opportunity. Soul crystals, candy gummies, but also what a pain in the ass to do that. I can tell you from experience. I mean, honestly, why don't I just make a fucking mold for them and we'll just make our own fucking soul candies. Thank you, Tethys. This is about assuming that all jobs have crystals, but knowing that any job can have one. I was more cautioning against assuming that jobs don't have them because we don't see them. Not hard to make them. Well, but it is hard to make them. We do know that like making them is a process. So like that isn't. It's not, like, easy to make soul crystals. It can be done, but it's not, like, a willy-nilly venture. You have to have specifically aspected and cut crystals to do it. And, right, but what I'm saying is that the evidence of the game has tended towards telling you not only when there's a job you can have, but when an occupation does have soul crystals, and people are using them. And it has also bothered to delineate certain jobs as wholly different. And because of that, it's much safer to assume that not everything has soul crystals than to just say, oh yeah, it could be either or. I was talking to Crystal specifically. I think Martin made... I can't remember if he made all of them or not. I think he did? So I think so? I don't know if anyone wants to cite on that. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Scholar Soul Crystal the first one of its kind to be found in quite some time compared to most others? Sam was, Summoner was. Scholar is, who do we get it from? We don't get it from Alkazolka. We find it because of the Tomberries. So yeah, it should be because of Nim and stuff. Scholar and, yeah, because we get it from the tablet and stuff. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's the first one we found. It's the same with Summoner, basically. White Mage, you're the first one to have it outside, you know, in a long time because of the elementals sealing them away because of Amdapor. Black Mage, it's one of a kind, basically. Oh, dang. Brian, good to see you, glad to have you. Blue Mage is definitely an older job, but the crystals look clean cut and new like Machinists. Well, but the newness and sparklingness of all of them, the blue magic, okay, so Machinists are blank slates. They don't have anything on them. The Blue Mage soul crystals do have things on them. They do, like, teach you the fundamental ability of absorbing information, how to use the blue magic to absorb spells.
Away with you.
But yeah, there's multiple ones that are, there's some that are, what are the other ones that are possibly, like, not one of a kind, but, like, more long time since someone had them. No, Red Mage are technically common, Ass is technically common, Scholar we find with Alkazolka and Stormblood. You find a second one with Tomberry Girl and Amdapor, so there could be more to be found. No, there's definitely more. Scholar's not one of a kind. Definitely not one of a kind. But, Reaper... No, because Reaper is had by people. It's had by the, oh my god, why am I forgetting their names? The Lemire. So it's not... They're not rare, or it's rare to have them. Summoner... Yeah, Summoner definitely is, because it was mostly lost because of Alag. It's only found, I think, because of the St. Coinex Find stuff, basically, if I'm not mistaken. And the thing is, most people couldn't have even used the Summoner ones because you have to have, like, been there when a Primal was defeated, if I'm not mistaken, in order to gain its energies. Okay, focusing up.
filthy rats! Be done with you!
Decoy, by the way, you're not wrong, right? Like, you're cautioning that we shouldn't assume that none other have them just because... you're right. You are right. I just think that the evidence, to my mind, suggests more strongly that, like, it's quite likely that that's the case. But, yeah, I do totally understand your point. Summoner were the oldest class for the era timeline. What do you mean the era timeline? Oh, do you mean like the timeline post Sundering? That's what you mean. I've never heard to it referred to as that. Because not really. Yeah.
Bear witness.
Is Summoner the oldest? Yeah, because third astral. Yeah, I think Summoner should be the oldest. Yep. Because most of them come out of either the end of the 5th astral era or the 6th astral era. The vast majority of them. Machinist is the only one from 7th. Tracy, good to see you. Glad to have you. Final Fantasy with a few MMOs that doesn't have a Necromancer class. That's because Necromancer is explicitly evil in universe. Like, to be a Necromancer would make you... there are multiple quests dealing with Necromancy on multiple levels. And they are very clear about how they feel about the idea of a Necromancer class. There's basically no way to do it that isn't morally evil. At least so far. I mean, hell, maybe they'll come up with something. I've in the past been pretty staunch about saying I don't think so, but, you know, far be it for me for them to, like, come up with something interesting, some way to do it. But as of now, every quest that deals with it. Temple! Temple! Oh, was it an in one?
Away with you.
Reaper's ready, towing the line, but Necromancer would just shove the war. Yeah. I tend to agree with that. And the thing is that the towing of the line with Reaper is interesting enough and is like really clearly delineated exactly why it's not fully over the line. Like all the restrictions put on it. Correct me if I'm wrong on this as well, but wasn't there only like 4 to 3 known RP Reapers throughout both its story and MSQ mode? So the amount, yeah, broadly throughout history, we're unsure of how many be, but we know that the practice has existed for the better part of, when did Garlemald form? At least somewhere between like 500 and 800 years, maybe even longer, technically, because that's a Republic. Basically, after they were kicked out of Corvos, it formed at some point. There could have been hundreds throughout history. We don't know. We don't know if it was one family line. We don't know, but we know that they were the assassins in the dark for Garlemald. And I would think it's probably more than just one family line, but we don't know the extent. The Reaper course line does indicate that Garlemald kept the practice alive in secret as assassins. Yeah, definitely did. I don't even think it implies that it outright states it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, exactly, Decoy. Dark Knight Reapers are stand at the edge of the abyss. You know, Dark Knight's also interesting too because its moral ambiguity is less in the power that you use and more of the outcomes that come from it. Someone mentioned Necromancer, put $1 on the cactar. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Every time someone mentions a Necromancer from now on, you guys have to put well, I don't have $1. I guess could someone like super chat $1 or something? I don't know. I'll try to see if someone could. I'll try to like maybe get some dollars or coins or something. Also, thank you for getting that lovely cactar bank up there. But I will now not be reading chat for the better part of probably 10 minutes. I also need to drink water to make sure I'm hydrated for some reason. Could do that.
Our power! How can this be? Fall back!
Deadpool! Deadpool!
Father, please!
For a mercy, we were not too late.
Why must you do this, Father? Nidhogg is fallen. There is no need for further deception. Now is the time to renounce the lies which led us down this path. To start anew!
And tear down the very pillars of our society? Our history, our values, everything we have built over 1,000 years? A fool to the last.
Deadpool. Come here. Come here. Come here.
Look out!
Passage of arms, baby!
Go. Asisla awaits.
Lord Orchefort!
It's no good. The wound is too deep. It refuses to mend.
You are unharmed? Forgive me. I could not bear the thought of... Oh, do not look at me so. A smile better suits a hero.
The addition of that cutscene, it's such a small addition, but I think it does a lot for that. I think it's times like this just remember that to some extent we all have a time to us, right? A time to all things. It's also worth remembering that what could be better than to give all of yourself to something that you find of the utmost import? Not just protect, but it's not only to save us, but to protect a better world, a better tomorrow. Would it be any better for him to have not given his all to do the thing that he felt the most strong towards, or the strongest for, you know? And just as importantly, I think why Final Fantasy XIV is a great story is not a byproduct of moments like this in isolation, but I think it's when you think of all the moments and times in which you are allowed to quote Hoshafan, and the times when you're allowed to quote Louis Soir, and your times you're allowed to take the lessons and memory and ideals of those people that not only came before, but also who gave their all for you to carry on, to make the steps before matter for the steps that will come after. I think that's a big part of why we love this game. So, that said, let's wrap up the quest.
I know not what to say. The others, they are gathered at Fort Tom's Manor.
Maze Hughes? Who's Maze Hughes? Fullmetal Alchemist. That took me a second.
The others are... Please, enter, Master Vaucheron.
Don't. Please. A knight lives to serve, to protect, to sacrifice. There is no greater calling. Leave me to mourn and give chase. For my son, and for the nation he loved. Go!
His sacrifice shall not be forgotten.
My son.
For all of his lot in life, not for a moment did he resent it.
I could not stand there in silence, but when all others had forsaken us, Lord Hoshafant took us in, our beacon of hope in a world of darkness. He did his utmost to raise our spirits, so that we might face our troubles with courage, with conviction, so that we might face them as knights.
I see you're quoting Theoden now, Professor. Oh, Elio, your face will match your character for a moment there. Fitting. I can handle good people dying young in fiction, but showing the parents' pain and reaction fucks me up bad. It's more meaningful. A noble sacrifice devoid of what that loss means is pointless. No, it's worse than pointless.
A noble sacrifice devoid of what that cost means is lauding and lionizing and romancing sacrifice, which sacrifice for a good you believe in should be lauded, but it shouldn't be treated as easy or something to throw away, or simply a thing that is done for a moment. Heavensward came out when I was living with someone who had recently lost their son. Hit hard. I can only imagine. Thanks, D. This is how you know Horsefant was the favorite of him. I don't think so, Professor. I don't read it as Horsefant being the favorite of Edmund. That moment to me, the reason that to me that Edmund feels that way is because he loved Horsefant so much, and he never was able to give him the place and station of his other sons, and was never able to fully treat him like he did with Edmund and Artorial. You know, like, or not Edmund, Emmanueline. He, because of his wife and because of him doing, you know, acting the way he did, he never could fully let Horsefant be a part of his life, and now he'll never have that chance. Not really. And I think there's just no question Edmund loved his son. Terribly, terribly so. But he will never have the chance to treat him fully and truly as his son. It wasn't a binary that he never did at all, or never loved him, or never showed him any kindness or affection or anything like that. But there will never be that now. I don't think he's the favorite. He's the most respectable. He's like the ideal son. He could never give him what he deserved. Yeah. And I really do think it's really important. It's so easy to just talk about lines, but the symbolism of a smile better suits a hero, and where the game allows you to bring that back, or, you know, the kindness of friends. A great example, and, you know, no spoilers beyond this, but when you are talking to Quintus, an Endwalker, and you are allowed to use Horsefant as a way to reject his worldview, that's why this game's great. Not because of just the moment, but because these moments matter, and they continue to matter, and these ideals have resonance, and they continue to be of use. And though they are gone, their spirits linger with us still, rather than just being a moment in time that was sad or powerful or impactful. Heavensward as an isolated event is one thing, but Heavensward and its lineage for what comes after, and raising that up. And the same with Stormblood, and the same with Shadowbringers, and the same with The Realm Reborn. And I'm sure the same with Endwalker onto what we will see next. Smile better suits a hero is my least favorite line in the game. I worked in localization. It's the only point where I cringed in the otherwise masterful translation. Yeah, I can't agree with you, Ian. I just vehemently disagree with you on that. There are so many stories where a brave hero decides to give their life to save the day, and because of their sacrifices, the good guy wins. The survivors of all cheer, and everybody lives lives happily ever after. To think he had not done what he did, he would be in the bad timeline. Yeah. The hero never gets to see the ending. They'll never know if the sacrifice actually made a difference. They never know if the day was really solid. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's a profession of faith, right? To do such is a profession not of certainty, not of I will save the day. It is a profession of faith, of uncertainty that this will end up right in the end, but that your belief that it can end up that way. One moment. I really
I wanted to double check it because I wanted to go back and look at it. Let me just double check those kanji real quick. Because I want to make sure those are the kanji I think they are. Yeah, Igal. Yeah, I really think that the Japanese line is far weaker and far worse. I don't know how you read that as impersonal. No, not at all. Yeah, I guess I just wildly would not agree with that. Look, your take is your take, and is your how it felt to you. To me, the Japanese is so like passingly. Like, to me, the Japanese take is in line with, like, the Sekuhara horse chiffon to the JP, and is, like, so two-dimensional. It's like, oh, you've got a nice smile, which I realize that it is discounting a lot of the connotation that's going on in the Japanese. I realize I'm being dismissive by saying it that way. But, like, to me, I can't say that this is not at all. He's calling you a hero, and he's telling you, you know, please, for me in this moment, you know, a smile better suits you. A smile better suits a hero. It's not just saying, you know, I guess just, I can't say I in any way would read that as impersonal. And I have strong opinions, so, you know, forgo that, but don't think that I mean to say that I think you're crazy or something for not having yours. But I guess in Japanese, I know I went to double check the line because it's been a while since I looked at it. It's not like it's not even just about informal. It's just like, yeah. Japanese has him far more into you in a romantic way. It's not even just a romantic way. It's like a physical way, in a way that I just don't like and deeply like disconnects me from the character. And I get why there's the note of being really close, especially in like his word choice, right, in the Japanese. I just don't think that it omits that. And I think if they did that in English, if you having also worked in some localization, or at least helped in some localization, if you literalize that, it would come off terribly. So like I think that was a really smart localization choice. It's just how I read it. I'm bilingual, and I don't even think about it. Who was in general in Japanese last line would have still worked. Yeah. I was just trying to be polite. Yeah, no, Tracy, that wasn't aimed at you. You're good, Tracy. When sacrifices are made by someone, their thoughts are not "I'm a hero," but rather I did the best I could to make a difference. You would hope. Sometimes it's definitely yeah. But Ian, yeah, I mean, like again, to each their own. To the like we have Tethys, right, who loves Japanese horse font more than loves English horse font. Yeah. Oh, Tethys, smile better suits here is absolute perfect line for someone as selfless as a horse font as to say as he is lying dying, just keep you from being sad. Yeah. Well, and yeah, and I agree with you to a degree. Okay, cool. I don't give a shit that I reiterate this all the time because I do think it's really fucking important so that people don't. I will have strong opinions even when they're in contrast to you guys. Know that I promise you it every time I am listening. And I'm not dismissing you out of hand until you start saying shit that makes me go like, oh, fuck off. And then not even like fuck off in terms of like the content of what you're saying, but like how you're approaching it. Because then if we're going to a place where you're like saying shit like I don't know what I'm talking about or what, then it's like, that's just going to annoy me, right? But setting that aside, you know, I do care to hear your take, even when I'm like at a thing where I'm like, I just can't, you know, I can't follow you into that. I have a strong former localization editor opinions. I get it. Yeah. Cool. I took that as Horseron telling us that even though he won't be around to see it, to keep bringing people to hope he knows the warrior like and bring him to forge ahead, if you will. Yeah. And I definitely think that it's, you know, like the element of that too is right, is he's in that moment still, you know, calling you a hero. In that moment still, you know, if anything, he's asking your forgiveness in this intimate moment that he had to put himself in harm's way because he couldn't bear the thought of you not. You know, like, it's so personal that, like, literally his sacrifice was not just sacrifice for friend. It was also, like, I couldn't bear to see you harmed. You know, like that to me, there's an element of like there's something that deeply both simultaneously chivalric and personal about that. Yeah, each language has lines that only work in that specific language. It's totally true. That's always true. It's always true. And if you're localizing anything, but definitely, yeah. Like I believe either in French or German when Lord Edmond says Horsfront's name rather than saying what he said. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because you can't, because there's language limitations, right? Like there's language connotations, and then there's also cultural connotations on top of those language connotations. You know, I mean, like even just like how you choose to try and localize formal versus informal speak, right? And I think this is a great example with Ian here, you know, like, yeah, totally. Okay, night, Trevor. This is the same game with an entire side quest line devoted to a cartoon character inspector and a dog teacher named for a childish children's book monkey. Yeah. But, I mean, that's our world simultaneously has the beauty and tragedy and humor of all those things, right? I think the problem only comes when if you had the inspector, Hildebrand. If you had Hildebrand with you during the Vault, right, and you were switching back and forth between those tones, that's a problem. But when you have a world that's expansive with a breadth of different experiences and peoples and lives and sorrows and tragedies and joys and wonders, like that's good. The world is not just tragedy. The world is not just joy, you know? Not complaining, just pointing out the insane range of emotion this game has. Yeah, totally does. Totally. Totally with you. Yeah. I guess, who wants to do, let's rank job quests. As a way to close this out. For those of you who are headed out because you're only here for the MSQ replay, thanks for watching. Don't forget, Monday, Tuesday, our MSQ replay. Wednesday's new videos. Thursday is our Final Fantasy replay where we're playing through Final Fantasy 1. Me and Anir are playing through all the Final Fantasy games in order. Friday is Lore Book Club over on the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, go join the Discord. Saturday is community event. Sunday, I have off, though sometimes we'll do Sloppy Sundays. I slept through all of Sunday yesterday, so that is why we didn't have Sloppy Sunday. Also, it'll be my birthday on the 9th, so I may be gone from Thursday to like Saturday-ish, so there may be no community events. There may be no book club because that's my birthday day, and then Thursday would be FF replay. There will be that. Weird tonal shift and work not talking itself too seriously is one of my favorite things. See, I hate tonal shifts. Weird tonal shifts to me are like my least favorite trope, especially in Japanese media. I think not Japanese media, that's, well, especially with like anime, but like I have a really hard time with weird tonal shifts. Those are one of my, you know, and the fact that you like them, right, is going to drastically change our experience of engaging with the different media. Yeah. Had Hildebrand been at the Vault, he would have taken that hit like a champ, maybe ended up halfway across the world, right? Hildebrand would have found a way to bring Horsefront back from the dead. He's a zombie overlord after all. Right, but that's also like my point, right? It's like, we can all make these jokes, but like that's also why it's important to be able to have, yeah. Futurama does tonal shift well, I think. Yeah, but I think that's also because it's an inherently absurdist world, you know? Utena was a formative work for me where it's like a wacky body swap, the exploration of horrific abuse. Yeah, that totally makes sense then. That totally makes sense. Let's FF job ranking. Maker. Okay. So, shall we then? And I'm curious to hear all your guys' thoughts, especially if you vehemently agree or vehemently disagree. To let us keep it civil. So, let's start with our number one and our bottom. Because to me, I think Dark Knight, best written, and I think Paladin is probably the worst written. And I don't think Paladin's bad. I just think that, like, it's fine. It's fine. Like, the Paladin stuff in it is, like, cool to know about Paladins, but it's, just, like, it's not, you know, like, Folksigil is kind of, like, cool, whatever. The Gladiator stuff is kind of cool, but, like, again, the last half of the Paladin job quests are about Gladiator rather than Paladin. Dark Knight #1. Yeah. Does anyone disagree with Dark Knight being one of the best written? I found Warrior dull. I found Warrior pretty dull too. I'd add White Mage to Paladin. I think Tethys would probably argue for White Mage being higher up. I don't think Sam is #2. I think Sam to me is like an A rank. I don't think Sam is like that high. But I'll keep that in mind. My #2, I think I'm gonna put Red Mage. So what's our other D? Or like what's our second bottom? Oh, this is a good question. Oh, I don't think that's a good way to go about it because I can't think of a good way to approach it. You know, there's also like Warrior worst. I don't think Warrior's the worst. I really don't. Like I get it if you don't like Curious Gorge and you don't like its humor and its stuff. Why it's not your favorite. But the thing I appreciate about Warrior is that it is like the Curious Gorge story from beginning to end. Like it at least is consistent, you know, whereas the Paladin kind of just goes all over the place. Ray and Tethys both on like not liking Warrior. I'll bow out this one since I don't know all the job stories. That's fine. I mean, the writer for Dark Story being in charge of Shadowbringers and Endwalker and the rogue quests. Yeah. But also, I mean, just because Ishikawa wrote them, like, just write something doesn't mean it's automatically going to be good. Now, historically, it's meant that, but, you know, it's worth discussing the notion. Jellybean! Yes, Red Mage love, indeed. Elio's second bottom. I'm the second bottom? Are we saying we don't like me, Professor? Bard at least an A. I think that's just because Hydaelyn is one of my favorite characters in the game, so that may just be me. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind, Aurora. Because like Bard's pretty mid tier for me. I think for A rank, let's think about A rank. I think Reaper's an A. Now it's short, so obviously you know, Samurai's an A. Samurai's pretty good. Black Mage is a C. Honestly, Black Mage is approaching a D. War Story is just Twilight without the vampires. Yes, but it replaces them with warriors. Also, it's more funny. So Arcanist is absolutely on the bottom, but Summoner and Scholar are much better. I don't think... Why do you hate Arcanist so much? Like, I mean, like, I kind of like Arcanist. I thought it was one of the better class job stories. I think, like, Marauder is, like, one of the worst. Joey and Hilda bump, Machinist at least. Yeah, Machinist is really good. Machinist is neither an A or an S. Probably, I would say an A for me. Bottom. Okay, Chris. Someone get the sloppy emotes out. Dancer's pretty good. Yeah, Dancer's pretty good. I mean, Dancer's to me is like a B. Like, it's, I like it, but I don't, like, love it. And it's got some lore stuff, but... Arcanist is both boring and annoying at the same time. Interesting. I didn't have that problem with it. Scholar's an A for the Tomberry lore alone. Yeah, honestly, Scholar to me is, especially with its capstone and, like, it's really emotional as a journey for me, it's probably an S. Monk is I think Monk's like a B. I think Monk has some good moments, but I think Sage is like a B. Ast is an A because of the amount of, like, lore stuff going on. I think story-wise is not super strong, but... Summoner's got some good stuff. I think a solid B. You know what? I think I'm just gonna get rid of D. I think that we're gonna use this because I like this better. Because I like these two are the same. Reaper is a B. I don't think so. No, I think Reaper's really emotional and gives us really good lore. I like the story of Reaper. I mean, remember that, like, we also get a much shorter, you only get 10 levels of it. So, like, you have to think about, like, the amount that's packed into storytelling and, like, the lore that we're getting from that. Sloppy, maybe. Ninja A, because Karasu is such a good character. I didn't love Ninja. Maybe I should replay it, though. Scholar was decent. I love Scholar. Scholar, I think, is one of the better ones by far. Reaper was good, just short, I agree. Reaper is good, yeah. Reaper is short, but good, yeah. And then, like, again, like, to me, like, Reaper has really good lore and a good story. Ninja was A. Yeah, I didn't... Like, Ninja's fine. Dragoon... It's like a B for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Estinian stuff, I love it, but, like, it, you know, undulates. Gunbreaker's story fits well with Baja. So that's the thing, is Gunbreaker's story is really great for Baja, but, like, also, it, like, takes time to get going, and you're doing the bodyguard thing, and, like, to me, it's like a B. You know, like, it's better than C, because honestly, it's approaching a C for me. Because, like, there are some moments in C. Like, again, a big part of why Gladiator or why Paladin is a C to me is because half of it isn't even Paladin. The half of it that isn't even Paladin is the good half. Ninja's getting some love for the Garlean Oathar backstory lore elements it adds. That's fair. That's fair. That's definitely fair. I'm going to put it in B for now. I think Blue Mage is an A, and as my argument being that it's like so much of the New World lore comes from it, and on top of that, I think it's actually a pretty good story. But I don't know. I wonder what you guys think. Honestly, and I know it'll kill Tethys, and I'm not going to place it yet, but like White Mage for me, other than the 70 job, is really meh. Like, it's good for Amdapor, like, lore and stuff, like, but, like, overall, I don't find it much better than, like, Black Mat. Honestly, it's the same. I think it's both of them, the Stormblood story for both of them are the good ones. White Mage could have been an A, but ended up C because they waffled out on it so much. Okay, so if Tethys is able to agree with us, then we're putting in C. Yeah. White Mage is mad to me, too. Yeah. Blue SSR rank. I'll put Blue in A for now. Warrior, people are pretty split on, because the thing about it is, like, it's more Curious Gorge than it is Warrior, especially after 50. But I don't know that. I think, but here's my argument, and hear me out for those of you who aren't fans of it, right? Here's why I don't think it's a C. Because I think at least they fucking commit and play the thing out. Like, they do Curious Gorge, and it is the Curious Gorge story. And I think what they do, they execute on well. Now, I don't love what they do, but I think they do it and commit to it. And that's why, to me, I think it's a B. I want to hear what your guys' counterpoints are. White Mage's story was kind of bland, in my opinion. Yeah, I think the most interesting thing that White Mage story does, I think there's some interesting lore stuff, and then the most interesting thing it does is in the Stormblood story. I feel like I'm in a minority for absolutely loving the War Quest. No, Tim, I don't think you're in a minority. I think it's literally just whether or not the Curious Gorge story appeals to you. And if it does, you're gonna fucking love it. So you might be in a minority here, but I don't know that you're necessarily a minority of, like, the player base or anything. Yeah, I definitely don't think I can put it in C, because I think it's actually at least consistent. Like, that's part of the problem with these guys, is that they're very inconsistent. Summoner's pretty good. Summoner, Dragoon. Dragoon waffles all over the place, but at least it's, like, pretty good. Like, the ARR stuff is, like, a little wonky how it goes into Heavensward, but it in and of itself for a Realm Reborn story is not terrible. Especially it was literally just taken from 1.0, effectively. The Hydaelyn stuff is pretty good. The Estinian stuff is pretty good. In like, Stormblood and stuff. Bard was middle for me. War story is either you like it or you don't care for it, yeah. Because the AR War Quests were about you controlling your inner beast, then you reteaching George, then the Zayla. Yeah, good point. Fantasy, good to see you, glad to have you. Not my fave either, but still a nice story for a warrior. Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I don't think it's bad, and I think it's well done, even if it's not. I don't love it, and so that it deserves respect for that. Bard was okay. Bard was middle for me. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Bard has good lore for, like, the Autumn War, good lore for the Autumn War and stuff, and it's like, there's good lore stuff. I don't think the characterization was strong enough for me to put it in A. Like, I'm looking at this. This is I think the general list. Now the question is what order we put them in. I feel like Warrior was okay, but like you said, it's the fact that the majority of him went through the Curious Gorge line. I feel like there could have been a little bit more to the underlying. Yeah, lore of the Warrior class along with helping getting Curious Gorge through his issues. Yeah, I barely remember anything about Bard. I would say definitely recheck out Bard, and I'm excited to, like, replay through some of these too. I actually like my S rank. Like, this is my order for S rank, which is Dark Knight, then Red Mage, then Scholar. I'm happy with that. Dancer was better than Bard. Is Dancer better than Bard, in my opinion? I think so. I think that's also Dancer being shorter allowed it to, like, be its concise story. Okay, so S is fine. Now we go through A. People seemed less happy on Reaper. Sam's pretty good. Ast is a decent enough story, but, like, honestly, what puts it in A is the fuck ton of lore you get for it. I like Reaper more than I like Blue Mage. The fuck ton of lore from Ast. Honestly, I like this. My only question is Sam or Machinist? Which is first? Because to me, I think it's Machinist. I want to hear what you guys think. I feel like if the story was the Curious Gorge story, you ended up being the mentor later for him. Yeah, but like I think to me that's part of some ways what weakens it. It's like you're teaching rather than being taught or learning a lot of the time. I got to get going. Have a great day. Yeah, you too, Deathberry. Heck, I made Black Mage when I started and barely remember what the quests were about. Yeah. Machinist. I really liked Red Mage, invested in the story, and Shroom was an enjoyable character. Yeah, Red Mage I think is a phenomenally well done job quest. Machinist. War expectations. Rage, kill, murder, behead. War reality, playing therapist, and matchmaker. Yeah. Okay, so we're good. Machinist. So okay, so A's on lock. Red Mage is amazing. Yeah, totally. Oh, Katie, good to see you. Glad to have you. C. Let's do C first because it's shorter. I have never unlocked Machinist on any of my character. Interesting. Just because you did not interest, or... Body's forcing me to nap. Hope everyone has a wonderful evening. You too, Aurora. We'll be cutting out here in a second anyways. War and Dark Story felt similar, but had their own differences that made them both run hand in hand. I guess to me, like, I don't... Like, they're similar in that they're about dealing with inner demons. But beyond that, I think they're so far different, both in, like, content and execution, that... Like, while I agree there's, like, that overarching narrative theme, you know? What did Professor say that you agree with? Yeah. You agree, and that's why you love it, yeah. Red Mage is good lore, and oh no, he's hot. And also just, like, a well-written story, too. Yeah, good lore, oh no, he's hot, and, like, I think it's, like, a genuinely a good story that's told bit by bit by bit, and then, like, culminates in its capstone. Like, that's the other thing to me, is that does the capstone actually culminate the tale? I don't do guns. That would do it. Well, I feel like at this point, you are the Warrior of Light. It's pretty much what you are, the world's errand boy and therapist, along with mediator, tried a handful of other jobs that you didn't intend to pick up, but did anyways. Yeah, that's fair. Did you actually get to the vault and do it with the trust? Yes, we finished it up. This is our cooldown. This is our I have cried, and now I would like to do something low-key. I think C is fine as is. Here's my counter to that. Here's my counter. I think it should be Paladin first, and my argument is that Shitoto is great. The 70 for Black Mage is great, but everything else is really meh. The first two for Paladin are okay. The 70 for Paladin is pretty good, and the capstone is pretty good. And so, like, I think overall the quality of Paladin is better, even though this has a higher high with Shitoto. And this, like, is relying on one good character, effectively. I almost would rather put White Mage here, because I almost, like, as much as Shitoto's funny, I think the Pagel stuff in this is better. The addition of Shitoto bumps Black Mage up to a B. But see, one character alone is not enough to put it in B to me. Also, the Chebukus. Yeah, so I finished 6.2. It's amazing now. I've been dragged back to AR to join someone for the very first run. Nice, Katie. Yeah, there's a lot to appreciate going back. Dark, how many multiple personalities can one man have? I mean, to be fair, it's think of it less as multiple personalities and more as aspects of self, you know? White Mage made me sleep. Did you do the 70 White Mage, though? Because, like, 50 and 60 I totally get, but, like, the 70 White Mage I think is really good. Okay, White Mage deserves C, but it's a better story than either Black Mage or Paladin. I don't know. Other than 70, I don't know that it is. And, then, like, 80 doesn't, like, do much for me. The Conjury is really good. I like the Conjury. I don't remember the Paladin capstone. I like the White Mage best. Paladin capstone is a capstone on, basically what happened in 70, where you meet the guy from Gladiator, and he's, like, learned new skills. He's like, I'm ready to duel you. And then he tries to go to and he realizes, like, I can't defeat you because you have... It's really good for Paladin, and it's... Honestly, as a capstone, it's really less about Paladin, and it's more about going into Endwalker. I liked White Mage best of the 3 Cs. You did? Okay. Didn't he go Sam instead? Yes, he did. He goes to the East because he met you when you went to the East, having just come back from the East because of the 70 stuff. And is like, well, that must have you gained a bunch of power. So he goes to the East, becomes a samurai, and then comes back, and he's like, oh no, I still can't fucking do shit to you. I liked White Mage best of the 3C. So I'm seeing between Tethys and, okay. It seems like this is the... Although, don't we really want to keep these in line? Well, Sage Knight might not end up there, so... We'll leave that. I'm fine with that. Because the thing is that Black Mage to me is like, I don't know, is like, it's so reliant on Shitoto, and other than that, literally the Thaumaturgy quest is better. Which is sad, because there's so much you could fucking do with Black Mage, and Mach, and just so much stuff, and I just don't feel like they do much with it. So, now we have to do B. What's, of these, which is people's highest for B? Like, to me, it's let me start putting it together in terms of how I would rank it, and then we can go from there. Something like honestly, I don't know with these four. Ditchy, Reaper not S, sad Reaper main noises. Well, I mean, I love Reaper, but like honestly, people were arguing it for B. Reaper gives good lore. It's a great story that's short, but especially as a 10 level story, it can't do more to delve deeper into its characters, and because of that, it can only go so high. For B, for me, Warrior, Samurai, Summoner, Sage, I've stopped caring. Duly noted. Seeing the Chibukas again was a high point of Endwalker for me as someone who started out as a Black Mage. Yeah, I can totally see why that would make it rank higher for you. Yeah. Can't speak for Sage, has never played it. It's a good story. I think it's weaker than Reaper, but it's a good story. And it does a lot to like broaden some Charlian information as well as some wider context around Viera males and the practice of medicine in the wider world. Ninja at some point felt like Hildy light version. No clue where I would put that one. I think that's, yeah, like that's why for me Ninja is lower just because some of its characters that I think are its greatest strength don't do as much for me. So for me, that's why I rank it lower. That's sort of what I felt like with Blue. Yeah. I guess the thing for me is that was very tonally consistent and didn't have a character who was playing super Hildy light. It just had some like extravagant, like, you know, like panache with like the performing in the ring and stuff. But I like the Crow, Bat Guy, and Ninja. See that? Yeah, and that's why I don't like Ninja as much. He's a bit too extra for me. Okay, Monk, high or low? How do people like Monk? Because I haven't heard anyone say anything about Monk. Meh. See, but the thing that's really important to remember about Monk is how much Alamigo it sets up and fills in. And then also how resonant it is if you, like, pay attention to the broader context in Girabanya, you know? And then also, like, good bits of lore, not just with Alamigo, but also on Memory, Aether, and all sorts of stuff. Meh, but good lore. I think it's a better story than that, but yeah. Love the Monk quest so far. Monk, meh. I like Monk. I think the major difference between those two is that Blue's consistently over the top and Ninja's less consistent, more tonal dissonance. Yeah, Tim, I think I would agree with you for my taste. Yeah. Higher really set up Alamigo. Yeah. I like Monk, but I would maybe do Dancer over it. Monk I actually kind of liked, and now that I think back, especially with the sisters. Monk is such an inoffensive job that doesn't even care. Most don't even care about it. When you say most, what do you even mean by most? Because like, how often do we like the thing is like, one thing that's worth remembering is like, there's a fuck ton of people who play the game, but on top of that, you know, the representation of people who play a class is also different than the representation of people who really give a shit about the same said class. It was okay. I love the start gets higher as you progress. I actually didn't think it was that low. I thought it was pretty, even from the get-go, I think the Realm Reborn one's pretty good. I like Eric. I like Eric too. I think Eric's writing in a Realm Reborn is a little bit too much, especially, like, even given the context that you give later on. I think if you're just a little more toned down, it would help a lot. But also, Eric's one of the only times that you get an NPC where you can just like, hey, can you tell me about history, fucking please? I don't like Monk as a story or a class. I like it as both. For those of you who really like Dancer, why are you saying Dancer so high? What is it about Dancer that you love? Because to me, ultimately, it's you going out, you're performing, and oh good, look, Flamine, you know? I like Master Amon from the Pugilist Guild. I will say that's the other thing is like Monk wove Pugilist stuff into Monk way better than like Paladin did Gladiator stuff, right? A lot of Thavnair lore. It's true. I love Monk, but the True Griffin thing kind of confused me. How come? The Kyrgyzstans is just cool. Kriegstans. Oh. Okay. The True Griffin thing, I think the thing is, if you're more aware of, like, the Mad King Theodric and, like, the lore of the Almegan Uprising and all of that stuff, it probably makes more sense. But to me, like, while that may or may not be confusing for me, being aware of that lore, it was very easy to track. Whereas if you're not trying to, like, follow what the fuck's going on, I totally get it. Dancer gave an actual believable reason for Dancer as a class while also giving us a little Thavnarian lore. Yeah, that's a good argument. If you pay close attention to Dancer, then there's the moment anyone can say, yeah, wait, did you not know this? If you're talking about Dynamis, no. Dancer does not use Dynamis. I'm not going to get into that argument again. There's a difference between using emotion, like using emotion to lifting spirits and how that affects things, but just gonna say that. Emotion is not Dynamis. I personally would put Sage before Dancer and Monk behind Summoner. Monk behind Summoner and Sage before Dancer. Sage is before Dancer, okay. So, or do you mean like Sage before Dancer like that? Dancer just felt like it made sense and had purpose. Okay. I'm happy to have Dancer high up. The thing is, the Allegan stuff and the, like, primal stuff that comes out of Summoner is so useful lore-wise. But I guess, you know, I'm happy. I can definitely put that down there. Man, it's been a long time since I played. The thing is, I'm rating these guys low, but it's also they're the ones I remember the least. Which also might be. Someone called Dancer with Dynamis, Dollar, and the Cactar. Honestly, Professor, you're not wrong. That should be another one that I should... yeah, okay, 2 new rules. Anytime someone says Dancer uses Dynamis, or asks about Necromancer, we put a $1 in the Cactar jar. That's a fair... I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna get rich. Summoner was okay. I think Summoner was way better than okay, especially when you think about how much it has to do with lore. Especially how the True Griffin ended up in the 80 quest like he got dealt with off screen. Summoner should be A tier. I don't know that Summoner's A tier. Like, Summoner's got good lore, but I don't think its narrative is like... wildly good. I mean, other than like, hey, we get to Ymitra. When people conflate Dancer or Bard with Dynamis, yeah. Remember, emotions are not what Dynamis are. Emotions are how you affect Dynamis, but emotions are not what Dynamis is. Dark Knight also does not use Dynamis. At least everything that is explained to you textually in the game, as of now, that is clearly the defined case. And the reason you can use it willy-nilly in a specific location is because that specific location is that specific location and the nature of it. Summoner is too disjointed to be A tier. Yeah, I think I would agree, Tethys. I think the like narrative of it flutters all the place. Dancer was cool because it showed off emotions can affect and literally warp Aether, which was cool in its own way. Yeah, totally agree. Not Dynamis, but similarly cool. Yeah, and again, I will grant that Dancers affect emotions, and for instance, in a certain given context, could that affect Dynamis? Potentially. But that's very different than having a job that uses and manipulates it. Just want to be, like, there's a very clear distinction there, and the game makes it. Yeah, and Tim, that's not aimed at you. Every time we get on this subject, I want to be very clear about it. Because, yeah. That was, Tam, don't worry. You triggered me for different reasons. You're totally good. Everything's good. And I love Summoner Quests. Yeah, I love the Summoner Quests, but they're definitely disjointed. I think that's fair. It's not like a contiguous narrative. I'm liking this. Who has disagreements with the ranking for B? And speak now or forever hold your peace. Yeah, I was just saying when we're told, oh, emotional energy is a thing or something very similar. Yeah. Well, that's Akasha, and Akasha is Dynamis. I assume you know. I'm just based off of what you're reading here, that is what I have to respond to. But speak now or forever hold your peace for B rank. I think I'll save this, and if people want to post their own on the Discord, I'd actually love to look through people's zones to see how wildly they differ. I'm just waiting to see the same people who's like, Dark Knight's the fucking worst. I still highly disagree with Warrior. What, being as low as it is? So again, Tim, this is not a objective argument as Warrior being... Again, this is why the distinction between B and C is probably the most important distinction. C is the ones that I think are actively flawed. Being low B tier means it's still very good, but for me, it didn't hit. And is not a failure of execution. But yes, so I understand though why you definitely disagree as vehemently as you do with it being as low as it is in B. Do you show references or sister when you when summoner your summoner? I wonder. If you play summoner, no. Like in the job quests, there are references between them. Yeah. If you talk to her like Ymitra and do stuff with Ymitra, like there are things that are affected by having played summoner. I'd actually put Monk behind Dancer and Summoner, but I was very meh about Monk. I think the amount that it sets up Alamigo and the fact that there's such a strong through line with Wittergelt is why I would look to Monk as being as high as it is. And also the fact that Monk had to do that throughout all of A Realm Reborn to now, whereas Dancer only had to do, 110 and a capstone. This is quests for these jobs, right? Not the job itself. Yeah, just quests. We're just talking about the quests. Yeah, there's a point where you can bring up your acquaintances with Mitra. Yeah, if you've done Summoner, there are things that can come up. I think Red Mage is a phenomenal story. I think Red Mage is a phenomenally well-told story. I think it's got really fucking good lore, and it's a really well-executed story that is what the story's about. It is Jruntia and Arya's story from beginning to end, and it is a great... And it continues with those characters, and it is a full story. And the catharsis of the capstone is also specifically tied into. I think one of the biggest things, and I think Sam does this, and some of the others do this too, but I think one of the biggest things that the S rank does is that it tells a story. All of the job quest story is one contiguous story, meaningfully, and their capstones are a meaningful capstone to the narrative, which I think all three of these do. Does a girl have a name? I mean, yeah. I mean, also, yeah. I always laugh when I see Arya and exactly what I think about. And I can't believe they let you say that. Okay. Well, if no one has any more statements, I think we'll save them. And I would say if you have historically not liked the Red Mage story, and it's been a while since you played it, I'd recommend replaying it. Okay, night, Tracy. Job quest ranking. Okay. I think that's a sufficiently good cooldown. I think we'll start heading out then. I've been Elliot Fosheron. Don't forget, Monday, Tuesday, MSQ replay. So tomorrow we'll also be doing MSQ replay. Wednesday is new videos. Thursday is our... Thursday is our FF1 live stream. So me and Naniri we're going through all of the Final Fantasy games. Friday is our... And if you want dates and times for this, you can always look over on the Discord. We have a poster telling us the scheduling for this. Friday is Lore Book Club, which you definitely should sign up for. If you're not part of our Discord, you should definitely go join our Discord. If you like written lore, you should go check our website, eorzeanarchives.com. You can also find us on the Twitters and all the good social medias, all that fun, jazzy stuff. If you'd like to support us, you can always join our Patreon. You can get your name in the banner above and all sorts of fun rewards. It does a lot to support us, makes this whole thing sustainable. And currently, a couple patrons had to discontinue, and among other things. So, we're working on trying to get these things to go full time, and bit by bit, we're getting there, though. We're getting there. So, thank you all for watching and for engaging with that. I think Dancer deserves higher, even though it's only affected by Aether. It was kind of a dry run for Endwalker and how emotions that manifest monstrous creatures that you need to hope to overcome, but I type slow. No worry, Decoy, and I appreciate you taking the time to type that. Yeah, I don't know that I would say it's the first one to dry run that. I think there's other parts of the story that do too, but... I take your point in point, and I think if you take it as that, I guess to me also, the thematic use to which those things are put are so drastically different. But that's a whole conversation in of itself. But I totally see what you're saying. Should probably start paying attention to the dungeons I'm running. Yeah, that might help a little bit, Tam. Just a thought, just a thought. But yeah, I appreciate having you guys with this, and always remember that smile better suits a hero. And with that, I'm heading out. Thank you for the Gabby booms! Gabby nerds! Oh my god! You know what's coming up? We got Idleshire! And we're gonna do the Gabby for us the entire time! It's Gabby for this, Gabby for that, Gabby. A smile better suits a hero. Cheers.